Y'all don't really want it like that. Yeah, here comes the no, here comes the.
Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition, another episode of Steezy A. Smith. If you guys are new here, well, ladies and gentlemen, the name is Calvin Domingo, aka Steezy A. Smith. Hope everyone is having a lovely, blessed evening tonight. Seattle's had a lot of sunshine. It's been very cold. It's been a lot of snow. It's been a lot of hail. But what do you expect? Typical Seattle weather. Thank you for taking the time, y'all. For those of you guys that are currently tuned in, I see a few of you guys there in the chat, and I will get to you guys shortly. Before I do kick things off today, I just want to say so much has happened. I mean, obviously, with the breaking news that the Seahawks are planning to release Jamal Adams, Quandre Diggs, Will Dissly, that creates over $34.5 million in salary cap space. And depending on which media outlet you're looking at, I've looked at both Spotrac, I've looked at over the cap. Spotrac is saying that the Seahawks have $38 million plus in salary cap space over the cap. Meanwhile, saying that the Seahawks have about $36 million in cap space. But no matter how you slice it, the Seahawks have more than $35 million to work with in free agency. I got a couple of takeaways. And on top of that, I also have a very, very special guest with me, which I will be bringing on in the next 10 minutes or so. Before I do bring him on, like I said, I got a couple questions that I do want to answer in the chat. I want to be able to acknowledge you guys. If you guys were tuning in last time, I did forget to answer questions. And so I apologize for that. And I'll make sure that doesn't happen again tonight. So if you have any questions, be sure to drop it in the chat. And then when I do bring on Christopher Kidd, we'll both be sure to answer that before I do get off. I know the last couple of shows I've gone on for over an hour, and I don't expect it. I don't anticipate it to be any longer than an hour and 10, 15 minutes at the most. And so, again, for those of you guys that had questions, be sure to drop them. And I'm going to go to some of you on the chat right now. We got Sajin in the building. What's up with it, bro? How you doing, Sajin? Always tuning in to every show that I have. And so, obviously, that means a lot to me. And Sajin, happy to have you on tonight. Hope you're having a great day. We got Jackie in the building saying, hello, Steezy. Hello to you, Jackie. We got Tyler also in the building. What's up, Steezy? What's your reaction to the 3 releases? Well, that's actually a perfect segue before I get back to some of y'all in the chat. Before we touch on free agency for the Seattle Seahawks this offseason, I do briefly want to touch on the release of Jamal, the release of Quandre, the release of Will Dissly. Obviously, with Jamal, he's posted a bunch of cryptic things on his social media. I don't think that's a surprise at all. Will Dissly, again, was accounting for way too much of the salary cap. And although he's a phenomenal run blocker, he just hasn't been utilized nearly enough as a pass catcher to really warrant and justify that cap hit. Obviously, the tight end room now is barren. Will Dissly's gone. No offense to free agent. Kobe Parkinson is a free agent, but I do think that Seattle likes what it has as far as options go at the tight end position, whether that's in free agency, whether that's in the draft, whether that's via trade. Seattle's definitely going to have a new tight end room come next season. But just to kind of summarize and to kind of talk about my reactions, my instant reactions to the releases, I'm really surprised that Quandre Diggs was just outright released. I was of the mindset that Seattle would look to restructure or perhaps even extend his contract. I mean, there are other ways to manufacture cap space aside from just outright releasing guys, And so with Quandre Diggs, it was either looked at as, okay, the Seattle Seahawks have options, whether, again, that's in free agency, the draft, or trade that they like at the safety position, or heck, who knows? Maybe Kobe Bryant is promoted as the starting safety. Maybe Jarek Reed, who also showed flashes last year, are promoted, to being starters at the safety positions. There are a lot of takeaways, obviously. And again, once I bring on my guests, we are going to touch on that. But again, just for me, Jamal, I wasn't surprised. Will Dissly, I wasn't surprised. Quandre Diggs, I'm slightly surprised because, again, I thought that Seattle would extend or restructure that contract, seeing as how he only had 1 year remaining. There were other avenues. And so who knows, maybe there's a restructuring of Tyler Lockett's contract coming up next. I know Seattle is not done with moves. The league year does not start until next week. I know teams are able to meet with free agents come Monday, and then come Wednesday, teams are able to officially sign these guys next Wednesday, March the 13th. And so before I touch on what else has been going on, I do want to go back to some of you guys here in the chat. Tyler, thank you for asking that question. Jackie, we are going to have to wait for the NFL draft. Right. But the days are moving fast. Time is moving fast. And we have just about a month and 3 weeks, a month and some change, maybe a month and a couple weeks and some change, I guess is what I mean to say. And so, yeah, I mean, time's moving. I wouldn't be surprised if the draft starts tomorrow. At least that's how time has felt, if that made sense. We got Baby Rhea in the building. What's up? Shoot, what's up, Rhea? I hope you're doing well. Thanks for taking the time to tune in. I'm happy to have you here. We got Jackie saying she missed last week's stream. It's all good, Jackie. The only thing that matters now is you're here. You're here today. You're here for today's stream. And so I appreciate that, Jackie. I appreciate you for taking the time. We got Deshaun Baker in the building saying hello. Hello to you, Deshaun. I don't know if you're a new subscriber. I haven't seen the username yet, or if you have been subscribed and tuning in for a while, I appreciate the support, but thank you for also taking the time to tune in. He's also saying Geno Stone is coming with Patrick Queen. We will touch on this later. If you guys have followed me, or if you guys follow me on Instagram, if you've tuned into some of the shorts that I drop from time to time, I'm actually not necessarily in favor of bringing on a Patrick Queen. It's not necessarily because of the talent level. I do think that with him being 24 years old, his best years are ahead of him. It's just at that price tag, I know Seattle's opened up a bunch of cap space, but I don't know if I'm in favor of allocating that much money to an off-ball linebacker. I'm really not. And so if Seattle is able to somehow strike, I don't know, maybe a middle ground with the Patrick Queen, which I think is unlikely because, again, 24 years old, maybe, but with the guy in-house in a Jordan Brooks who should come cheaper, I think Seattle might want to go, in that direction. Perhaps, again, the draft, there's a couple of low value, maybe not low value, let me take that back. Great value, low buys at linebacker, and we will talk about and touch on some of those guys later on during the show. But Deshaun, thank you for putting out your comment. We got Gilbert in the building, big Steezy fan. That means a lot to me. Thank you for taking the time to tune in. I appreciate it. And we got Syjan saying, Nino said, damn, got fired on my day off. Well, thankfully for Nino, he shouldn't be off for too long. Just because, again, with the new league year kicking off next week, teams are able to officially sign guys come Wednesday. Teams are able to come to agreements as soon as this coming Monday. Nino, I mean, I wish him the best. I truly wish him the best. He was just such a high-impact player these last 5 years in Seattle. Nino, if you're tuned in, if you happen to see this later on, and I speak for the entire city of Seattle when I say this, you will be missed. And I'd love to see him compete for a championship. I mean, I'm thinking about the Kansas City Chiefs. I think right now, if I had to give a way too early destination for Quandre Diggs, I think the Kansas City Chiefs would be a spectacular fit. He has been on Twitter saying that he wants a championship. He wants to be able to compete for a championship. I don't remember which tweet it was. I think he was responding to somebody on Twitter. But Quandre said that he wants to win a championship. And I think if he were to land with the Kansas City Chiefs, hey, I'm not no Kansas City Chiefs by any means, but I'll most definitely root for Quandre Diggs. I can also see him at Baltimore. I only truly see him with the contending team. That could be Buffalo. That could be Cincinnati. Maybe he goes to Miami, Philadelphia. There are a lot of options out there. Detroit, they could use an enforcer like him. What if he goes back to Detroit? I think that'd actually be crazy, but definitely look for him to sign with the contending team. And so, Syjan, I know he got fired on his day off, but I don't expect that to last very, very long. Jackie is wondering, what is your reaction to KJ Wright taking an assistant linebacking coach for the 49ers? So yesterday, unlike today, was a little more quiet on the Seahawks front as far as news went. And KJ Wright taking that assistant linebacker coach role for the Niners. And I think he's also the quality control defensive assistant. I'm happy for him. I know Bruce Irvin expressed his demise, or excuse me, demise is the wrong word. I know Bruce Irvin expressed his displeasure with KJ Wright accepting that assistant coaching job with the 49ers. But hey, man, I get it. But look, this is his first NFL job outside of actually playing in the NFL. This is his first head coaching job in the National Football League. And so I can't fault KJR for taking it, even if it is with the opposition. All I ask is he doesn't pull a McCole Harbin, man. I know McCole Harbin apologized on social media. I know he talked about how he's not that type of person in which he would expose the team that he was previously with his current team and expose their game plan and different things of that nature. But KJ Wright, as long as you're not pulling Again, I'm Nicole Hardman with the San Francisco 49ers. I wish him the most amount of success that anyone could possibly wish upon somebody. I don't wish that the Niners have a great season, but I do wish that the Niners have great play out of their linebackers, which they obviously have been getting for the last who knows how many years. However long Fred Warner's been there, Drake Greenlaw as well. And so while I'm not necessarily a fan of the team, I'm a huge fan of the move as far as what it means for KJR's coaching career. He was doing phenomenal as a media guy. He has his own show. I don't know how that's going to go now that he's an assistant coach with the San Francisco 49ers, but just for the person, for the human being, I'm so excited. And I can't wait to see where that takes him in the future. I mean, who knows? We could see him being a defensive coordinator in the National Football League in a couple years and maybe a head coach down the line. Obviously, it remains to be seen, but I do think that he has a bright future as a coach. He brings a lot of knowledge. He brings a lot of intel. He's a great mind. He's a great personality. He's also a great leader. I think he's going to do very well. And although I hate the team, I'll always be rooting for the person. So shout out KJ Wright for real. We got Baby Reese. I'm doing great. Hope you're doing great as well. Hey, I'm feeling blessed by the best, so I appreciate that. Thank you for tuning in. We got Deshaun saying, thank you, sir. Jackie Race is saying the number one Steezy fan. I feel like there are a couple of people out there that might beg to defer, but Jackie, in the meantime, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Deshaun, Nino will be a great fit on the Eagles, right? And people forget he's a great friend of Darius Slay's. They're almost essentially brothers, and so I think that's very feasible, and I wouldn't be surprised. Again, I only see him signing with a contending team, and so with the Eagles, I wouldn't mind that. And we got Concierge with Nolan dropping a super chat. Man, Nolan, always showing love, man. Thank you so much, Nolan. Nolan is saying, what's up, Steezy? Respect to Will, Nino, and Adams, but the reset is on. More changes to come. Right. And look, I'm not an advocate for the Seahawks to trade Geno Smith, but I do still think that because this is business, because Geno Smith is on such a team-friendly deal. I mean, a team I'm sure would be filling a fork over some compensation if they're not able to get the quarterback that they want, whether that's in the draft, free agency, or by way of trade. And so trading for Geno Smith or trading away Geno Smith, if you're the Seahawks, I do think that's feasible. And so we'll definitely touch on that a little later once I do have my guests come on. But Nolan, man, thank you. The super chat. I feel like every time you're on, I'm always seeing a super chat from you. So thank you so much, man. That means a lot. We got Jackie Reyes asking about a reaction to Jason Kelsey's retirement. I don't have too much to say, but I will say this. Congratulations on retirement. You never beat the Seahawks, nor the Bengals. And so I hope he remembers that. But definitely a great player all around, future Hall of Famer, one of the best centers of all time. I wish him nothing but the best. KJ was bound to coach, period. Happy for him. No doubt. Well, again, if you guys have questions, definitely be sure to drop them in the chat. I will be bringing on my special guest here in just a second. And so, again, if you guys have questions, be sure to drop that. Now I want to get into instant takeaways. I already kind of provided mine. And so after I introduce my special guest, I'm going to have him just go straight into it. But without further ado, man, let me get this going real quick. Got the music in the background. Ladies and gentlemen, like I said, I'm not doing this alone. I got a very important guest with me. And if you're not familiar with my saying by now, I got a VIG, a very important guest. He's one of the producers, or is the producer of Puck and Jim on KJR 93.3. He's a co-host of the Seahawks Man2Man podcast with one of the best reporters in the game, and Michael Sean Duger, Seahawks media personality. Without further ado, man, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome him on, Christopher Kidd.
What's happening? How you guys doing? What's up? How you doing, Steezy? It's been a minute.
Man, it has been a while, brother. How you feeling, man?
Man, I am feeling good. Getting back to the swing of things. It's just been a nice, chill off season. We haven't been doing too many pods just because Mike has been busy and I'm chilling. So, now we're getting back into the swing of things. And then, as you know, you've been rapping about it. The news of what the Seahawks are doing. They just cut 2 of their safeties. One we understand. One there's some discussion about. And then Will Dissly. I'm sure they're not done. So we'll see how things unfold for the next week.
Right. And like I said earlier, the new league year starts this coming Monday. And so teams are able to come to agreements with free agents. Come Wednesday, they're able to officially sign them to contracts. Christopher Kid, or I know I call you Kid. I'm gonna just call you Kid. I don't know why I'm saying Christopher, but Kid. Before we do jump into this, do you have anything you want to say to the fans? Do you want to shout out your Instagram, any of your socials?
Oh yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at CKIDD206. I'm gonna be honest with you, I am all over the place. Now during football season, obviously I hone in on the Seahawks, but I'm a huge NBA fan, so you might catch tweets about basketball. I'm all over the place. I'm not a content creator that's focused on just the Seahawks and NFL, but every now and then when it's football season, I lock in. So fair warning, if you do follow me, don't be thinking, oh, he's just a Seahawks guy. Nope, I'm all over the place. I'm not a reporter in that regard, so I'm everywhere. I'm just a broadcast journalist that loves watching the NFL. I have an opportunity to do some work with my man of Mike Dugar, who covers the Seahawks, and we have a great podcast, Seahawks Man2Man. You can follow that on YouTube. That is Seahawks Man, MAN, the number 2, man, and you can follow us on there as well. And then my Instagram is the same, CKid206. And again, it's not focused on much of anything other than when we drop a pod, I promote the hell out of it. But outside of that, you guys are more than welcome to stop by, follow me, whatever the case may be. But I'm happy to be joining Steezy on this, and then let's have some fun with it. Go, what you got for us, man?
Man, no doubt. And I almost felt like I disrespected you by saying you're just a Seahawks media personality because, like you said, Kid, I mean, you do a little bit of everything. I saw you tweeting about high school basketball. Obviously, the tournament just ended.
Yeah.
O'Day, man, what happened to O'Day real quick?
A lot happened. They didn't show up. They had an opportunity to play in the state championship, and Rainier Beach was a better basketball team. And that's something that they're going to live with. You know, they're losing a senior and Malcolm Clark that is talented, but other guys are going to have to step up next season and fill that role. I think this year they were a really good team, but they just didn't get over the hump. And I think next year they'll be even more hungry for an opportunity to win that state title because it's been, I want to say 4 years, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll see what happens next year.
Well, there's a lot to see about what's going to potentially happen next week. But before we do touch on that, Kid, I just got to ask. I've already provided my instant reactions, but what were you doing when the release of Jamal Adams, Quandre Diggs, and Will Dissly took place, and how did you react?
Well, as you mentioned, I work at 93.3 KJR FM Sports Radio in Seattle as a producer, and we're actually in a commercial break. And the news came up, and when I saw one of the hosts' reaction, I knew, someone got cut. And sure enough, I go to social media, pull up the Twitter account, see Tom Pelissero tweeting out that the Seahawks are releasing Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs, followed up by Will Dissly. So I was actually just working, and sure enough, headlines hit, news broke, and it's off to the races. Instant reaction was not surprised with Jamal Adams just because of how things have been going for a while now. And A, he can't stay healthy. B, the contract that he had at the time with the Seahawks, the Seahawks weren't getting a bang for the buck. It wasn't consistent enough. He wasn't on the field. And I kind of saw the writing on the wall. And Mike Dugar, who covered the Seahawks for The Athletic, he was pretty much stating that over and over again. And we noticed it. When you watch the film, he's a step slower against the Niners. He just got beat on a post over the middle by Deebo Samuel that was just unfortunate. It was rough. And he never got back to 2020 Jamal Adams when was it 2020? Whatever year it was against the Falcons, he had a crazy game. His first year with the Seahawks, dominant. And from that point on, that's what everyone thought they would get out of Jamal. And unfortunately, he wasn't consistent. Injuries, and then the coverage came up. Can he cover? And that became a whole big deal. And he just never really recovered. But the Quandre news was a bit shocking just because when I'm watching the game, obviously I'm watching it broadcast view as everyone else, right? So I understand if a fan feels that, Quandre should have made this play or he should have made that tackle. Correct, right? But then I go back and watch film and I get to see everything. So the cool thing is when we do the podcast, I'm only seeing the game from the broadcast, right? Mike, on the other hand, the co-host that covers the Seahawks for The Athletic, he's able to watch the game, all 22, live, and he's taking notes and he's seeing things. So sometimes I'll have to ask him, hey, was that on Quandre? Or what happened here before I even get my copy of the all 22? Because I honestly don't know. I'm just guessing. And from a fan standpoint, I can understand why fans would feel, it's about time they cut ties with Quandre. But at the same time, I think fans are also missing out on the fact that Quandre, he did a lot of things that don't go on the broadcast that you'll never know about unless you see the film. And there are stats out there that you can go look up and you can see how productive Quandre is. And I know, oh, he's older, go get younger. Going younger doesn't mean this team's going to be better, right? That doesn't guarantee it being younger and faster. It does mean that there's room for growth. But I would ask I would ask a Seahawks fan this. What are your expectations for this team this season? Do you want them to be playoff caliber, going back to making the playoffs, making a deep run? Are you thinking this team's going to win 9 games again? Because in that scenario, why did they even get rid of Pete Carroll in that regard? Why get rid of Pete if you're going to be back in the same position you were last year with younger talent? Couldn't Pete do the same thing? Just a thought. So this is going to be a fun, long offseason because I don't think they're done. What about Bobby? Is he going to return? What about Jordan Brooks? Does he want to return? Now, obviously, he talked to reporters after the end of the season. All signs indicate that he would love to be back with the Seahawks. But with this new team, you lose a leader in Quandre. Now, he wasn't the most vocal leader, but he brought it on the field. He spoke with his actions. And you're losing that is going to be different. You don't have that back-end safety that's leading by action. If they don't bring Bobby Wagner back, you don't have a linebacker that knows everything about this defense. Granted, again, that was Pete Carroll's defense. We're moving into the Mike McDonald era. So everything is going to change. So I'm excited to see what happens over these next few months. The draft is coming up. Now they have a hole at safety. And I was talking to Mike earlier, and Mike, he pointed it straight up. He said, this is going to be interesting basically to see how they fill that hole because Quandre is a really good, talented safety. He's not bad. He's still got it. And I think next Monday, I wouldn't be surprised by next Friday if he signs a new deal somewhere. But maybe it takes longer because he's trying to figure out what team is going to offer him the best deal, how long he wants to play, things of that nature. But I would think that the numbers are going to be, his phone's going to be ringing because he still has something to give. He's not done, in my opinion. And he was healthy this season. And when he's playing lights out, you saw what he can do. Of course, he had bad games, but as a whole defense that had bad games. So it's just going to be really exciting to see what this team looks like with a new free safety. Two new safeties at that regard. Jamal's gone and Quandre.
Yeah, I mean, kid, I don't know if you saw on Twitter, but Quandre was talking about how he wants to win a championship. And so before I brought you on, I brought up the Kansas City Chiefs. I think he'd be a tremendous fit. If he were to land with the Kansas City Chiefs, I'm rooting for him. And I'm not a Chiefs fan by any means. I like to root against the Chiefs. But if he were to land with the Chiefs, I'm rooting for him. I want him to win a championship. If it's not in Seattle, I'd want him to win a championship elsewhere. I think if he goes back to Detroit, I think that'd be real dope. They could use an enforcer like him, a guy like him on the back end, especially because that secondary struggled immensely down the stretch. Philadelphia, one of his best friends, Darius Slay, is over there. I mean, I see him landing with a contender. Heck, what if he goes to Baltimore? I think that'd be ironic with Mike McDonald leaving. And so I think that'd be crazy. But speaking of safeties, though, and you kind of touched on this, kid, but do you have any safeties right now off the top of your head that you'd like the Seahawks to pair Julian Love with?
Man, to be honest, I told Mike, I said, shoot, just bring Ryan Neal back at this point, And Ryan, he was okay. He wasn't bad, but there's other talent out there. Let me pull up the free agency tracker to see who's available because I know there's a bunch of dudes out there that could potentially land in Seattle, and I know the Seahawks are probably looking to find a cheaper, younger, talented guy. Right. Can they do that? Sure, but how good are they going to be in Mike McDonald's system? Because they're moving on from what Pete Carroll was doing, right? I think we can all agree to that they are trying to figure out and establish what Mike McDonald did with the Baltimore Ravens and find that style with Seattle's defense. So that I think is going to be the biggest factor. So let's look at strong safety, right? So, the list. It's crazy. Jamal Adams at the top of the list. All right, let's see.
Shoot, already.
Yeah, come on, man. They work fast on this. So, Jordan Whitehead. Okay, he had last year? He was making $5.2 million. Jordan Whitehead is a potential guy. He's 20. He'll be 27 this season. Let's see, because I'm assuming the Seahawks want to go young. Maybe an Xavier McKinney. He was making $2 million with the New York Giants. Right. So to be honest, whoever they want to bring in, that's fine. But if they're going to play a cover 3 style defense, having that one player just know the in and outs of his position, that's tough to do, man. I'm telling you, a lot of what Quandre did is everyone thinks, oh, well, you just play 2 safeties. Well, Julian Love had some rough games, if you guys remember. He also had really good games. But without Quandre now, and now it's Julian Love and a newcomer, man, I think we're going to be in for an interesting season with this defense, to say the least. Because, for example, giving up Quandre, why would you give him up when he was, you would say what? Based on last season, he was a top 10 safety? And the Seahawks said, yeah, well, we're not going to bring him back. That's tough. That's really tough to do. And again, you just named a bunch of teams that would definitely be interested in him. As I mentioned before, I think his phone's ringing today. Hey, we're looking to get you. We know what you have in the tank. We watched the film. We know that you are a capable strong safety in this league. You could play that deep third, cover the center of the field, and make plays. And looking at this 2020 free agent class, Jamal Adams at the top of the list, Kevin Byard, but he just made $12.5 million. Seahawks not trying to pay that money right now. Micah Hyde, just under 10. He's going to want some serious money. So there are some dudes out there, but I'm assuming the Seahawks want to save their money and get someone young. But how quickly are they going to be able to get in and be a factor in the defense? Those are questions you got to think about.
Right. And Kid, you talked about how it won't be a seamless fit, right? Whoever slots in next to Julian Love. But what about bringing back maybe not necessarily bringing back, but Geno Stone, who had, 6 or 7 INTs for the Ravens last year? What about kind of bringing him in? And he knows the defense. He knows Mike McDonald's defense, and maybe he's kind of able to help out the rest of the guys. What do you think about that?
I think that's definitely a move. I got to look up his contract, but I would say, why not? If he is willing, to come to Seattle, and you got it on the screen. Look at my man. He's working ahead. So 7.2 mil, 21. So what? Jamal, he was making way more than that, obviously. 7.2 mil a year. Why not? Right. But then again, that's putting a lot of money into that safety market. Do the Seahawks want to do that again? Do they want to go out and risk it? Now, I did mention a couple of guys who my first choice was obviously Ryan Neal, someone that is familiar with Seattle. But again, this is a new regime. It's clearly not going to be what Pete was trying to do defensively. Right. We're going to see everything change. So maybe they do bring in Geno Stone. That is someone that is familiar with Mike McDonald. And usually when coaches go to a different team, what do they like to do? When they join a new team, that is, they like to bring some of the guys from the old team with them, 1 or 2 dudes. So potentially Geno Stone is someone that the Seahawks could go after. They cleared up $27 million in cap space with cutting dudes today. So with that being said, okay, we cleared up the space. All right, we got a little bit of lunch money now, as you have it on the screen, $36.2 million. So if they want to make a deal like, hey, Geno, we can make something work here, then the option is there. And why not take that? Especially, again, as I mentioned, Geno is comfortable. He knows what Mike's going to want to do. He's comfortable with, okay, I know what Mike ran with the Ravens. Hell, we destroyed the Seahawks, so let's go over here and change it and do something different. Or he stays in Baltimore. So we'll see what happens with Geno Stone over these next few weeks, because I like that for sure.
I definitely like that too. Real quick before we jump into the next question, Kid, out of all of Baltimore's free agents, so we're talking Jadeveon Clowney. I know Justin Madubuike recently got franchise tagged. Yep. Patrick Queen, Geno Stone, offensive lineman Ben Powers, John Simpson. There could be other guys that you have in mind. But out of all the Baltimore Ravens free agents, which do you see reuniting with Mike McDonald in Seattle, or which do you think is the most likely?
Ooh, that's a great question. If I had to guess, it might be Jadeveon Clowney. Right, the D line, it could definitely use a spark. Now, Jadeveon had a stint in Seattle, and it was rocky. It didn't pan out the way they thought. But again, you mentioned the familiarity with Mike McDonald. Okay, you know what? I get a second chance in Seattle. Let's do it. They were close to beating the Chiefs, didn't get it done. Come to the West Side. I'm thinking of the NBA Western Conference. Look at me, NFC. That is come to the NFC. You got the Niners, who clearly are above and beyond the Seahawks right now. The Rams are right there with the Seahawks. So Jadeveon coming to Seattle, I think, is a likely move. 1 year, $7.2 million. I can see the Seahawks saying, "Look, man, we'll do a year. We'll throw $7 million. How's that sound?" And he's, you know what, I can do that. And then also, hopefully, they can re-sign Leonard Williams. Does he want to come back? That's another guy to think about because he was impacted as soon as he arrived with the Seahawks. All right, pass rush, as well as stuff in the run. Now, obviously, the run defense, the total was not good. So me pointing out small points where Leonard Williams was a factor might not hit home, but I definitely believe that if the Seahawks are looking to chase it for a championship and dethrone the Niners, Leonard Williams is someone that is circled that, hey, whatever it takes, we got to try to get that big guy back and fill that middle. Because he, again, when he came in, instant impact. Again, that defense as a whole wasn't good, but when you put on the tape, oh yeah, he stood out easily. He stood out. So I would circle him. You got to try to get him back. Figure it a way. You just cleared $27 million. So see if you can make something work.
Right. And you said Seattle cleared up over $27 million in cap space. And so right now I'm looking at over the cap, and they're saying that the Seahawks rank 16th in the NFL in salary cap space with $36.2 million. On the same token, though, the Seahawks are also on the hook as far as dead money, having racked up $34.4 million in dead cap after the release of Adams and Diggs. And I know this is probably going to change once the Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos stuff fiasco, it kind of settles in. But the last time I checked, the Seahawks actually lead the league right now as far as dead money with the number $34.4 million. And I know we're kind of flip-flopping back and forth here. We did talk about Geno, but kid, now I want to talk about the other Geno just real quick because when I was watching your guys' last episode of the Seahawks Man2Man podcast, you talked about how trade scenarios start jumping up or came to mind. And so let's say the Seahawks trade Geno Smith to a quarterback needy team. I know the ramifications of that would be detrimental to the salary cap. Seattle would take a lot more money in dead cap just because they've been pushing, the can down the road by giving him his money now. But if Seattle's already leading the league in dead cap money, what's it to add more this year, especially if Seattle's in the midst of a small rebuild? And so I guess this is kind of a two-part question. Actually, that's not even the part that I wanted to talk to. Which teams make the most sense as far as trade partners? And for the second question, let's say the Seahawks trade him to a quarterback needy team. Would you be in favor of the Seahawks trading for Justin Fields? Just because I know a lot of Seahawks fans have been clamoring about that, bringing it up on social media.
So the first part of the question is what teams would be a worthy trade for the most part? To be honest, I don't know. I don't know any teams that are thinking we're Geno Smith away from a Super Bowl. I think they're comfortable with what they have. So I don't even think a team would be willing to trade. And maybe that's why the Seahawks are keeping him, because I would assume that John Schneider met with other teams and proposed at the combine and was like, hey, thoughts on Geno, maybe make a deal. And they're, yeah, man, we'll pass. He had a great year, a better year in the second half, but we're okay. We'll stay with what we got. And there's a draft coming up with a couple of quarterbacks that can spin. So that scenario, I don't think really flourished, because I think the Seahawks wanted to trade Geno in all honesty, but the suitors weren't there. Now, in the grand scheme of things, if the Bears are like, yo, send us Geno, a couple of picks, we will give you Justin, I would personally be okay with it, because I think Justin, with Ryan Grubb and what he did with Michael Penix, now I'm not saying Justin Fields is in the same class as Michael Penix. That's not what I'm saying. But he is a dual threat. And what I mean by that is he's able to run the football and he can throw. And if you get someone like Ryan Grubb that can really expand on his ability to throw the football and the run game, just imagine Ken Walker, Justin Fields, DK, and JSN. To me, that sounds like an exciting offense. Charles Cross, he's a talented left tackle. Hopefully, right tackle Abe Lucas, his knee is going to be okay. I just can see a vision where that offense is very electric. Now, obviously, Justin Fields has a problem with getting sacked and turnovers. But I think Ryan Grubb and those guys, they can really tone that in, and he can take care of the football. That's just the random dream scenario that I had, because I thought, you know what, he's still rough, but you put him in the right system, I think he can really give him some weapons. Like DJ Moore ain't enough, right? So you have DK, Lockett, JSN, Ken Walker, Zach Charbonnet. What's to say that he can't have a really great season and the Seahawks win 11 or 12 games with him at the helm if the Bears are like, yeah, we'll do that trade. That's fair. I don't think that would happen, but I'm not mad at that question. And sure, I would definitely bring in Justin Fields. Why not? Young, still has room to grow. He can throw the football, just got to be more accurate and stop taking so many sacks and fumbling the football and throwing interceptions, man. And I think the sky's the limit for him. So if you're asking me, yo, are you down Seahawks trading for Justin Fields for Geno? Sign me up.
Even if Seattle has to sign him to an extension, just because he does, I know he has that 5th-year option still, but I'm pretty sure any team that he's traded to, he'd want to sign an extension. You think Seattle will go for that?
I mean, you bringing him in, is this a one? No, yeah, they're going to have to. And as you mentioned, I mean, hell, you're already eating some dead money. Go ahead. Make it more. Blow it up. Just get it done, especially depending on what the Seahawks want to do. Again, are they looking to be a contender? Does Justin Fields make you a contender? Probably not. But we won't know until they bring him in. We see what they're doing offensively. Are they going to go out and stifle that defensive line? Are they going to bring in a new guy on the offensive line, a center, a guard? Because the offensive line and D-line, basically the trenches, just haven't been good enough. And to win, you got to have a really good O-line and D-line. Patrick Mahomes is winning Super Bowls because his O-line is nasty.
Yeah, one of the best in the league.
The crazy thing is he didn't have receivers at first. Well, I would say this. The receivers weren't being consistent. They finally figured out the end of the season. Some guys had to stay home. Y'all know what happened. Some dudes were literally like, hey, you just stay home. We got the dudes that we rocking with, and we're going to go out here and win some football games. The Seahawks don't have an offensive line. They got receivers.
Yeah.
So I would say it's starting the trenches. Like one of the funny things I always talk about is you've played flag football. You played with us. Back in the day, we used to have offensive line and defensive line. Like we used to have dudes that would block. And I would always tell our quarterbacks, hey, your first pick should not be Steezy because he's fast and got hands. If you ain't got no O-line, Steezy's not catching the football. You won't have any time in the pocket. You're going to have guys like me trying to block 265-pound dudes that played linebacker in high school. I have no shot. That same ideology transfers to the NFL. You got to have an O-line to run the football, to pass the football. If you don't have that, it don't matter who your receivers are. If the Chiefs didn't have an offensive line, you saw what happened in the Super Bowl a few years back when he was running for his life. Granted, they lost a guy. I forget who his name was, but he hurt his back, and that was kind of a wrap. And also Mahomes was banged up, but he was running for his life and still making plays. But having that trench finalized and having the guys and the dudes that are getting it done, it takes you a long way. It's very rare that a team makes the Super Bowl with just an ass O-line and D-line, but elite wide receivers. It's not really consistent. You got a nice O-line, you have a chance. You have a great D-line, you have a chance. Everything else you can work around. Having a good quarterback, good offensive line, defensive line, it really sets you up for success.
I think I have an idea of where you're going to go with the last question I will ask you. But before we jump into that last question, kid, I just got to ask. I mean, obviously this is a show about free agency. And so with all this newfound cap space, will the Seattle Seahawks be active in free agency with all this newfound cap space, or will a lot of it be allocated towards signing or bringing back its own free agents?
That's a wonderful question. And I would start by saying, I honestly do not know, because for years it's been, John and Pete. And I don't have the answers. It never was told to me, oh, this is who Pete really wanted in free agency. This is what John really wanted in free agency. Now it's literally all John. It's, hey, what do you want to do, John? You have some cap space. Are you going to go out and get guys, free agency? Are you going to go through the draft? I am just as curious as you are. So I'm guessing you didn't have that as the answer that I was going to give. What was your answer that you thought I was going to give, Steezy?
Man, that's actually a great question coming right back to me. Honestly, I don't know. I mean, because again, it all ties back to what you said at the top of the show. It's like, what is Seattle's priority next year? Is it to compete? Is it to just win 9 or 10 games? We don't know what direction they're going to go in. And like you also talked about, if it was just to win 9 or 10 games, we should have just kept Pete around, or Seattle should have just kept Pete Carroll around. And so I guess everything is just purely speculation until we know what direction Seattle is going to settle in. And so I guess to answer your question, it's boring, but I don't know. I really had no idea. That's actually why I had to ask.
No, so I will say this, that I think the Seahawks made it very clear that they're going to play very hard. They're going to compete. Right. Now, what that means, I don't know. It could mean, hey, we're going to give you 8 wins, but you know what? We're fighting our ass off every Sunday, whatever the case may be, biting elbows, kneecaps. Remember our friendly Detroit Lions head coach, Mr. Campbell, he was talking that, and they were fighting and scrapping, and he just ruined that for them, obviously, with his late game play calling. But nonetheless, I think this team is going to be a version of what Detroit did. They got to take a little step back. They're going to be clawing and fighting. They're not going to, obviously, on the whiteboard, I'll probably say compete for a Super Bowl, but starts with winning your division. Can they win the NFC West? On paper right now, I would say no, but the roster ain't even filled out yet, so this is just an early hot take. Right. But right now, I don't see that. Now, you ask me again in April after the draft, where are they at with the Niners now? Are they closer? Are they still where they were? Those are things that we're gonna have to see, especially with free agency, because they're gonna make some moves. Dudes are gonna get dealt. Maybe a Baltimore Raven will become a Seahawk. I would figure that's gonna take place over the next week or so, heading into the draft and all of that. So this team has a lot of, not a lot of holes, but they have a lot of things where they can go, how can we get better? Could you imagine how Jordan Brooks is feeling right now? He lost Quandre. He's likely going to lose Bobby. He's about to look around the roster and see a bunch of young dudes that were smoking cigars after they lost to the Cardinals. So is that a good feeling? And he wants to win. You mentioned what Quandre said he wanted to do. He wanted to win a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. He wants to be a contender. In my eyes, a contender is 5 teams maybe, and I can name them right now. All right? Chiefs, obviously, they just won it. The Ravens. So that's 2. Let's go to the NFC. Niners. I don't know if I want to throw the Dolphins in there. I won't throw the Dolphins in there. So we'll keep it those 3. Lions. I don't know if the Lions will get close again. I think, to be honest, everything worked this year. They were healthy. You got to remember, you need a lot of luck to make it this far.
No, you do.
Things got to go your way. They had a couple injuries, but there wasn't anything drastic like, damn, we just lost such and such. Those things are tough to come by. And you look at the Niners, they lost Hufanga, and they were like, cool, we got the next guy up. Still one of the best defenses in the league. They're a problem. Their D-line, nasty. Their corners, they're solid. They're an all-around, really well-built football team. So they're a contender. I said that's 3 teams. Maybe not even 5 teams. And who am I missing? Buffalo Bills. I would put the Buffalo Bills in contention. So they're 4.
Over the Bengals.
What'd you say?
Over the Bengals?
Ooh. Yeah, I would.
Over Ravens.
I put the Ravens in there. Remember I said Chiefs, Ravens, Buffalo Bills, NFC. I got the Niners. Those 4 teams right there, I would say Super Bowl or bust. Bengals. Right. I would say Bengals for sure. That's 5. So those are the 5 teams that, hey, if you don't win a Super Bowl, it's a bust. Obviously, the Cowboys, they always say it, but they're not a contender. They just say it. They do the talking. Those 5 teams I named, they really have a chance to get it done. Week in and week out, they are the favorites to make it all the way. The Seahawks aren't in that discussion yet, but again, they got to start with winning their division, the NFC West. And remember, I talked about, well, we're going to find out where they are during the draft. Like after the draft, they said, are they closer? Are they where they were when they released Quandre Diggs, Jamal Adams, and Will Dissly? Or are they edging closer? I don't know if they're ever going to be right there. Like, oh yeah, we're right there with the Niners, because the Niners are loaded. You got to have a little bit of luck. Injuries are clear. Stay clear of that. And obviously, it's football. Players are going to get hurt. I hate training camp because that's when the reports come out. Such and such did this with his ACL. Oh, got Achilles here. I really hate that time of year because that's when those injuries start piling up. And there's nothing you can really do about it, right? So, with all that being said, the Seahawks are in that wild card, hey, playoff hunt. Can they? That's where they're at right now, in my eyes. Now, that can change. But right now, looking at the vision and what I'm seeing with what they're doing, they look like they could be potentially where they were last year. And is that really what they wanted to do? Are they trying to rebuild? In the press conference when they introduced him, they talked about, they didn't really say what they were going to do, but it was, we're going to play hard and we want to win. Well, win what? Super Bowl, or you want to win games?
That's a great question. And I got one more question for you, kid, before I let you go. You talked about what Seattle, or what kind of direction, Seattle wants to go in. I think the draft is going to be very, very telling. Obviously this is a free agency show, but before you do go, kid, I just got to ask, I know it says 4 to 5 on the screen. We could just do 2, but give me 2 positions.
Oh, that's easy.
The Seahawks should prioritize in this year's NFL draft.
Well, I talked about it earlier with the trenches, right? So I don't care what position on the offensive, defensive line, find someone. The best player available, take him. Now, again, this will also lead into the conversation about what do the Seahawks want to do? Because a lot of people would say, oh, Chris, take a tight end in Bowers. Well, why are you taking a tight end when you have DK and JSN? You can never have enough weapons. Well, you still don't have an O-line, so now this weapon is deemed useless. You're going to be mad because he had 3 catches and you're 9 games into the season or 4 games into the season. He's not productive. So when people are saying, oh, Bowers, grab some, if I'm John Schneider, I am fixing the defensive line or O-line. I'll just make it crystal clear. I am going D-line first or offensive line. Whoever the best player is available that we deem the best, if it's offensive line, take it. If it's defensive line, take it. So those 2 for sure. The third one, I'd probably go linebacker. You got to find someone to help Jordan Brooks now, because I don't imagine the Seahawks are bringing Bobby Wagner back. And to be honest, would Bobby want to come back now? You just cut my boy Quandre, one of the captains and leaders of this football team. He's no longer on the roster. All right. Would Bobby be willing to reset and say, you know what? I'm the old man in the building? Maybe he would, but I also don't think John Snyder's looking to bring him back. So there's that. Last position, obviously, they just cut Quandre. So safety is a strong need now. So those are the 4 positions that you have to prioritize in this year's NFL draft, outside of obviously the free agency where you can get some young guys that are talented and pay them not as much as Quandre was making, right? That's the hope, and that's what they probably want to do. Or you draft the guy, and you ain't paying him much depending on where you draft him. Draft him in the 5th round, it's nothing. Sure, very cheap deal, all right? Done, sign on the line, you're our starter. A lot of growing pains, but if that's the route that they're going to go, then so be it. So those are the 4 positions that I'm saying they got to prioritize in this year. O-line, D-line, whoever that player is available, whoever number 1 pick on the board is, take them. Linebacker, and now a safety. Before, if they just cut Jamal and they kept Quandre, I would say another linebacker. Go ahead and draft 2 linebackers. So I guess that doesn't really answer the question of 4 positions, but I gave you 3. And I think those 3 are really important, especially with what this team is looking to do in the near future.
Ladies and gentlemen, Christopher Kidd, producer of Puck and Jim on 93.3 KJR, live Monday through Fridays from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Seahawks Man2Man co-host, Seahawks and all sports media personality. Man, I've had such a blast. I've had such a great time. Kid, the floor is yours. Whatever you want to tell the fans, what you got coming up, talk to them.
Well, Steezy A, thank you again for having me on your show. I appreciate it. It's a blast, so thanks again for that. And then Mike and I will be cooking up something over the next 48 hours just because there's a lot of news dropping. More to come, most likely. So stay tuned for our Seahawks Man2Man listeners. If you're on here, we appreciate all the love and support. If you're new and subscribing now, we thank you for that as well. Again, that's Seahawks Man, the number 2 Man on YouTube. You subscribe there. All of our content is available, from our interviews to us just talking, and even we actually break down the film. So the last one we did was week 18 against the Cardinals. Wasn't pretty, but nonetheless, it's available to check out, where we just talk about some of the plays that stood out to Mike and myself. And yeah, that's all I got. Again, you can follow me on social media, CKid206. It's actually CKIDD206. I thought it was on the screen, but it's all good. It's not. But that's all I got. Again, thank you again, Steezy. And I look forward to chatting with you in the near future.
Man, kid, I hope you have a blessed rest of your night, brother. And let me know when we got flag football runs coming up. I've been dying to play.
I'm going to keep it a beam with you. Cats is complaining about how early we have to get up. So I know Cats will get up at 6 a.m. to go lift, but when it comes to running around and catching a football, it's too early. No judgment there. I get it. lifting weights is, I get it. You get the, catching a football running around. Maybe some guys they don't like getting up early. I'll just say it like that. So we're working on it, Steezy. I will definitely shoot you a text, though. Don't think that we've been playing without you. We haven't.
Man, I'm glad. Shoot. I was like, man, he hasn't hit me up in a while, but I know everybody getting busy. So
no, I didn't want to bother you and say, hey, we're not playing. I just wanted to hit you when we are because I don't feel the need to give you negative news. So instead of me saying, hey, we're not playing today, that's why I just say, you know what? I will hit Steezy when we are back on the field. So hopefully it's this Saturday, but you'll definitely get a text, my man.
Man, for sure, brother. Again, thanks for taking the time. I hope to do this again soon.
Absolutely. Let me know, man.
Yes, sir. Peace, bro.
Later.
Yes, sir. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, Christopher Kidd, producer for Puck and Jim on KJR 93.3 live Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Pacific time. And then if you aren't already subscribed to his podcast with Michael Sean Duger, who covers the Seahawks for The Athletic, it's going to be Seahawks Man2Man on YouTube. Man, I've been wanting to get him on the show for such a long time now, and I'm just so glad that I was finally able to make that happen. I know I've been talking to you guys about bringing on different guests throughout the summer or throughout the off season, and so I definitely still have a lot more guests. I have players that I'm going to bring on. I have hopefully coaches down the line, other media personalities, other Seahawk content creators. And so be sure to stay tuned. And if you aren't already subscribed, man, we just hit 4K on YouTube. So ask Steezy A. Smith if you're not already subscribed. I got daily content coming out on Instagram, on Twitter. Again, ask Steezy A. Smith. And so I want to use this time to kind of, I guess, shout myself out if you guys don't mind. I will get to you guys in the comments, so give me just a second. But shoot, let me move this here. But again, at Steezy A. Smith, the handle is right here. If you aren't already subscribed on YouTube, we just hit 4,000. And so for that, I'm just truly and eternally grateful. I mean, you guys are some of the biggest reasons why I'm still doing what I do. I know I was on hiatus for over a year, but you guys are one of the reasons why I keep doing what I do. And so I appreciate the support endlessly. It means a lot more than you know. Again, on YouTube at Steezy A. Smith, and then on Instagram and Twitter. If you're looking for daily content, at Steezy A. Smith TV on Instagram and at Steezy A. Smith on Twitter. Now, I do want to get back to some of you guys here in the chat. Hold on, I know it's been a while. Deshaun Baker, Russell Wilson in a backup role with us. Your thoughts? Wow. I think I don't know how likely he is to take a backup role, just because with what we saw last year in Denver, I still think he's a solid starting quarterback in the National Football League. I do not for 1 second believe that there are 32 quarterbacks better in the NFL than Russell Wilson. But as far as him taking a backup role, nah, there's still so many quarterback needy teams out there. Because Denver still owes him such a large sum of money, there are actually reports out there circulating that Russell Wilson might be willing to take a bargain discount or a bargain on his next contract. And so I don't know if it's going to be the veteran minimum. I don't know if it's going to be $10 million or less. Obviously, you know, as a player in the National Football League, you want to maximize your earning potential. But I think this is the rare situation in which we see a guy like a Russell Wilson, who is still a future Hall of Famer, might take a contract well below market value just because Denver is still paying him so much money. And so as a backup, no. With Seattle, I don't see that happening. Even under a new regime, I think Seattle keeps Geno Smith, like John Schneider said, right? Geno Smith is a starter until he's not the starter. I think that if Geno Smith is not the starter, it's because Drew Lock beat him out over the summer, or because whatever rookie Seattle ended up bringing in ended up beating out Geno Smith over the summer. That's really the only scenarios that I envision in which Geno Smith is not the starter for the Seattle Seahawks next year. Obviously, barring a trade, you know, that could obviously change the calculus of things. But Deshaun, to answer your question, as a backup around the league, no. And then back with Seattle, nah, heck nah. And obviously, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I just, nah, it's too fresh. The wounds are too fresh. Move. Oh, no threat to Lock. I think he'll restructure for the benefit of the team, so let him retire as Seahawk. Right, Sajid, we talked about this before, but I do think ultimately he retires as a Seahawk. Deshaun is saying Brock Bowers is a beast. He most definitely is. And I know my guest, Christopher Kidd, who was just on, was opposed. If, let's say, Brock Bowers were to fall in a hypothetical draft, if Brock Bowers were to fall, Chris is obviously against that. Is Seattle, as long as they're able to address the offensive line later in the draft or in free agency, I wouldn't be completely opposed to this just because, and this is what everyone is saying, right? Brock Bowers is a generational prospect at tight end. And so if that were to happen, shoot, who knows, man? We got Tyler in the building. Can I come say hi? Tyler, I apologize, but I am just about to wrap up the show within the next 15 to 20 minutes. And so for the next show, definitely let me know ahead of time. I mean, like I said, I'm about to wrap up the show. And so I'd hate to bring you on just towards the end. I feel bad. But Tyler, I appreciate you for taking the time to tune in. We got Concierge with Nolan with another super chat. So shout out to Nolan, man. This really warms my heart. So Nolan, I really appreciate it. But Nolan is saying don't sleep on Jordan Love on an extension. I'm not exactly sure where Jordan Love, where toxic Jordan Love kind of came from, but I do think that, I mean, he is ripe for an extension with the Green Bay Packers. Look at the season he just had. I would include incentives, though, just because we have only seen 1 year of proven production. I know he's still young. I know he's had a lot of time to learn under Aaron Rodgers, but I would include and bake in some incentives. I wouldn't give him just the contract that's going to pay him $45 million, $50+ million a year just off the bat. I'll definitely include some incentives and definitely some language that can help protect the Packers just in case Jordan Love doesn't end up or isn't able to sustain the sort of play that we saw last year. But Nolan, I think you bring up a great point. Deshaun, about Antoine Winfield Jr., he actually just got franchise tagged, and so he's no longer an option at safety. I think if he's not able to come to terms on a contract extension with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he'll more likely not be traded. I don't think that's going to be to Seattle. And so while that would have been a cool signing to see in free agency, again, he has been franchise tagged by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And so I think that kind of eliminates the possibility of him landing in Seattle. Steezy, my brother. Tyler, my brother. Hope you're having a blessed night. Again, thank you for tuning in. Winfield Jr. will be a great fit if Seattle can't get Geno Stone. Again, it had to happen via trade, but Sajin, Ryan Neal. We had Christopher Kidd on earlier. Again, producer for Puck and Gems, he's a producer on Puck and Gym on 93.3 KJR. Again, live Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. He also did bring up Ryan Neal, and so I think that'd be a very viable option at safety. Again, there is some familiarity there as there is with the JV and Clowney, and so who knows? I wouldn't be opposed to it. Sajid is asking, why do we still have Eskridge and Ballore? Honestly, like we talked about earlier, the Seahawks aren't done making moves. And so maybe Seattle just doesn't need the cap space from those signings. I mean, from those releases just yet. And maybe that's why they're kind of holding off. But I do think that we'll see it sooner rather than later. What do we have on the practice squad that can be given an opportunity? I think if we're talking about safeties here, safety Jonathan Sutherland. I remember seeing a lot from him during the preseason last year, and he just kind of popped out on tape. And so I think he's definitely a guy in-house. Kobe Bryant, who I thought played pretty well at safety during the preseason training camp. Jarek Reed, another option who Seattle took in the 6th round of last year's draft. Definitely options to replace Quandre Diggs at safety if Seattle wants to go the in-house route. Obviously, even if they were to go there, they're still more likely not going to add a guy in free agency or in the draft. But as far as guys in-house, and I know they're not in the practice squad, but Kobe Bryant, Jonathan Sutherland, who is coming from the practice squad, and then Jarek Reed, who Seattle took in the 6th round of last year. Eskridge and Ballore probably next, right? I want nothing to do with Payne Fields. Yeah, we talked about this earlier, and I only wanted to bring up Justin Fields to Seattle just because there are a lot of 12s, and some of you guys might be victim, to this, but a lot of 12s out there want Justin Fields in Seattle, and I wouldn't be opposed to it. Again, I know I keep saying this. I actually would be in favor of Justin Fields to Seattle. The only thing wrong with that, and I did drop a short about this a couple of months ago, Seattle would have to pay him, whether that's this offseason or next, and I just think that for Seattle to build the next contender here in Seattle with the Seahawks, I do think that it would help to have a quarterback on a value of a contract. And by signing Justin Fields to a market value type of contract, I just don't know if that's conducive to Seattle contending here in the next couple of years. Tons of potential, especially in the Ryan Grubb system. I agree. Russ got let go from the Broncos. Sajin is asking, where does he fit to finish his career? I know there was a report that the Steelers aren't at all interested in a Russell Wilson, but I think he would fit in Pittsburgh. I think he would fit in Vegas, and he did list the Las Vegas Raiders as a potential destination. Remember, y'all, back in 2021, before the Seahawks ultimately traded him, he had a list of 4 teams, and on that list were the Saints, were the Raiders. There were the Broncos on that list, and I think the Cowboys. I'm not exactly sure. If you guys remember the exact list, word or team for team, drop it in the comments. But I do think that the Atlanta Falcons, I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I think that the Las Vegas Raiders are all viable teams and viable options for Russell Wilson as far as where he's going to play next year. Let me talk to you. Fix the trenches. Sajin is saying fix the trenches first. I agree. Dolphins fan, but support the hustle. Just subbed. Hey, man, Dolphin Gang Entertainment. I appreciate for the love, man. That means a ton. I appreciate that. DGE. I don't know if you have a YouTube channel yourself, but to everybody out there, even if you aren't a Dolphins fan, if you're still tuned in, DGE, I'm gonna ask my subscribers right now, my followers, everybody that love me, give this person right here a subscribe. I don't know. I'm assuming. Nah, I don't even know where I was getting at there, but. Hey, DGE, I appreciate the love and support. Obviously, I'm not no Seahawks fan, or I'm not no Dolphin fan. Scratch that. But I do like the Dolphins. I've always liked the Dolphins. Tua's one of my favorite players, and I've just always loved the city of Miami. And so the Dolphins definitely have a place in my heart. So I appreciate that, brother, for real. Okay. Oh, okay. Rhea saying #1 fan in the chat. I appreciate that. Really. Thank you. I told you, bro, you are on your way. Just don't stop. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for real. Okay, we have another super chat in the building. Man, Concierge with Nolan. Man, you are making my night tonight. You are making my night. I appreciate you for another super chat. So I definitely got to shout you right here. If you have any social media handles, or if you have a podcast, your own show, if there's anything that you want to promote, Concierge with Nolan, be sure to drop it in the chat, and I'm gonna put it right here for everybody to see. But I really appreciate the super chat, man, for real. That means a lot. But Concierge with Nolan is saying, I have heard that anything over vet minimum and Russ, it just takes money off what Denver owes him. Doubt Russ would let Denver off the hook. Okay. See, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Okay, so anything over the veteran, let's get this straight. So again, I have heard that anything over vet minimum to Russ just takes money off what Denver owes him. So that's why, because initially there were reports that he was willing to accept a veteran minimum if he were to be let go from the Broncos, and obviously that's going to happen come the new league year. And so that's why he was okay with potentially taking, and reportedly, right, taking a veteran minimum, because he doesn't want to let Denver off the hook. That's very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Concierge with Nolan, thank you for the super chat, and thank you for that piece of information. That, man. Dolphin Gang Entertainment is saying Kobe Bryant, Michael Jackson, y'all defense legendary. Yeah, I seen and this was like a meme that dropped on Twitter last summer. Somebody had posted a picture of Kobe Bryant, and rest in peace, rest in heaven to Kobe Bryant. But somebody had posted a picture of Lakers legend Kobe Bryant on the left side, and then it was Michael Jackson, the artist, and again, rest in peace to Michael Jackson on the right side. And I think the caption was like the caption was something along the lines of the NFL, or I don't even remember what it said. That's why I'm getting my words twisted up. But the end of the tweet was like, meanwhile, the Seahawks, and then Kobe Bryant and Michael Jackson. I forgot what it was, but I think for those of you guys that know, it went viral. And so if you know what I'm talking about. But I thought that was funny. But DGE, yeah, again, thank you. Jackie Race is saying good night. Good night, Jackie. I hope you have a great night. Thank you again for taking the time to tune in. We got Richard Chan in the building. What's going on, Steezy? What's going on, my brother? All the way over there in San Francisco. Not repping the 49ers, though. And so for those of you guys in the chat, don't attack him. Don't jump him. He is over there in San Francisco, but he's not rocking with the San Francisco 49ers. He is rocking with the Seattle Seahawks. He's with us. So, yeah, don't jump him in the chat. I ain't going to lie. Man, brother, you funny, bro. You funny. But thank you for the super chat, brother. Really, I really appreciate that. That means a lot, brother. Man, there's been a lot of super chats tonight. I appreciate you guys for the super chats, man. That means a lot. I'm taking a while here. Okay, one more comment. We've been going through the chat here just one by one, so I apologize, y'all. Thank you for being patient. But Alina Daw in the building. How you doing, Alina? Thank you for taking the time to tune in. She's saying that I'm glad that KJ got a job as a coach, but sad where he went. Seriously, anywhere but there. And see, this is just a theory. I don't have any sources to back this up, but I just think that with the KJ Wright, I mean, I don't think there were any other teams that were offering head coaching jobs, especially because at this point of the offseason, I mean, for the most part, a lot of coaching staffs are pretty much full. And so I think that with the Seahawks not having hired him, it was just down to the 49ers or nothing. And I know that a lot of people were rocking with KJ Wright and his podcast. He had a bright future in media. Who knows? Maybe once he's done with coaching, he goes back to media. But, man, I was hoping to get him on the show. But now that he's with the opposition, like I said at the top of the show, that I'm not mad. Maybe the team's not ideal, but I'm so happy. I'm ecstatic for KJ Wright just because I know that he's been wanting to do this for a long time. And he gets to fulfill that with the San Francisco 49ers. And so, again, although I'm not rocking with the team, I'm actually grateful on behalf of KJ Wright for granting him the opportunity. I know he'll thrive. I know he'll succeed. I hope the Niners don't, but I hope their linebackers do, and I hope KJ Wright does. So shout out to you, Alina, for posing that, for bringing that up into the chat. I appreciate it. Dolphin Gang Entertainment, appreciate you, bro. I do got a YouTube. I'm gonna hit you on IG for collab. I talk Dolphins and other stuff. Hey, for sure, bro. Send me a DM. Send me a DM on Instagram. Send me a DM on Twitter. Whatever you use more. Give me a holla, and yo, we could work in the future. Let me know. Sajin is saying, great show, brother, man. I ought to watch my Suns lose to the Nuggets tonight. And the Nuggets are the reigning champs, and so I don't think it's a bad thing to lose to them. Obviously, you want to compete, and you want to win every game that you can. But Sajin, don't say that just yet. The Suns are definitely a contender in their own right. But Sajin, as always, brother, I appreciate you for taking the time to tune in. God bless you as always, and I'll see you in the next show. Cowboys, Saints, Raiders, Bears. Thank you, Nolan. Thank you. Cowboys, Saints, Raiders, and Bears. And so I think that's kind of where the possibility of him potentially landing with the Raiders, I think that's really where it stems from, honestly. But yeah, Raiders, Saints, Cowboys, and Bears. Thank you for bringing that up, Nolan. Richard in the chat is saying, nah, he's a traitor. The KJ Wright show was one of our favorites too. Right. And I mean, his show started to take off. He's had a bunch of phenomenal guests on. Like I told you guys, I was hoping to have him on the show. We've definitely chopped it up on Instagram in the past. And so I don't know how all those things are going to work now that he is an assistant head coach or an assistant linebackers coach with the San Francisco 49ers. I'm not so sure if he's able to, or he's probably not even going to have the time to be hopping on a bunch of different podcasts and interviews. And so we'll see what happens there. But again, KJ Wright, man, I wish you nothing but the best. And don't mind what people are here in the chat are saying. Nah, he's a traitor. Nah, don't listen to that. Deshaun Baker's a Seahawks fan in North Carolina. Wow, I didn't know I had a bunch of listeners in North Carolina. I know I got one of my homies there, but wow, Deshaun, all the way over in North Carolina, man. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And we got another super chat in the building by way and courtesy of Miss Alina Dahl herself, the lovely Miss Alina Dahl. Again, these just make my heart warm, man. It makes my heart melt. So I appreciate you guys. I promise we are going to get back into a few more topics that I do want to touch on before I do wrap up the show. I know I said I wasn't trying to be on for any longer than an hour, but you guys are just being so generous. You guys are being so nice. These super chats keep coming in, and I love conversing with y'all. I love talking to you guys. And so let me get to this. But question, do you think he waited for that job, or did he want to go the media route? He came on KJ all day to break the news, 9:30 a.m. to break the news to us yesterday before telling everyone else. That is right. And before breaking news and all those reports started flying all over the place, he was on his own podcast and made the announcement himself. And so, wow. This is a great question, Alina. I think deep down in his heart, he wanted to go the media route, but just not now. Just not now. I think with the success that he's had, he's kind of seen where he could go. But I think all along he's always wanted to be a coach. And I think shortly after he retired, just a little over a year ago, maybe it's been 2 years now, I talked about him potentially coming on board with the Seahawks as an assistant coach. And obviously I wasn't able to ask him, or I don't know if opinion ever went public. But I think as soon as he retired, he always wanted to be a coach. And so I think he has been waiting, for a coaching job to open up. And so again, I know this is kind of where I'm breaking this up, but I think he's always also wanted to go the media route. But I think that he's waited for a coaching job this whole time. While he was waiting, he kind of wanted to build up his profile just a little bit more in media. Obviously, the credentials are there as a player, but I think while he was waiting for a coaching job to open up, he was gonna build himself up in media, build up that profile a little bit more, establish more connections, network with some of the people that he needed to network with, and bam, here we are. And obviously, I feel like deep down, it kind of has to sting just a little bit. I know he's fulfilled one of his dreams as being an assistant coach now, and he's going to start to build up his resume as a defensive coach or as a coach in the National Football League. But I just think that with him on the Niners, I mean, I don't believe for 1 second that the Niners were his number one option. And so I think that, yes, this whole time he has been waiting for a coaching job to open up. And now that it's with the Niners, he obviously knows that some fans and other people that rock with the Seahawks are going to feel some type of way. But, you know, again, above all, I'm happy for him. And I know that San Francisco is going to be a great destination for him to build up that coaching resume. So, Alina, again, thank you for tuning in. And thank you so much for the super chat. It truly means a ton. All right, y'all. I do have a couple of more, I guess, topics and questions that I do want to touch on. Again, this is the only preview you need to Seahawks free agency in 2024. And I'm going to put this up again, but I did have my guest, Christopher Kidd, co-host of Seahawks Man2Man podcast, and also the producer for Puck and Jim on 93.3 KJR, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. If you guys aren't already following him on social media, it's just ckid_206. Again, ckid_206 on Instagram, on Twitter. And then don't forget to subscribe to the Seahawks Man2Man podcast on YouTube if you aren't already subscribed. Now that that's out the way, just a couple more questions and topics I do want to touch on as it pertains to everything Seahawks free agency related. Is Leonard Williams a lock to re-sign? And this is probably obvious. I don't think that this is rocket science. I think that, yeah, I mean, like Christopher Kidd brought up earlier, the Seahawks are saving over $27.5 million in cap savings with the release of a Jamal Adams, with the release of a Quandre Diggs, with the release of a Will Dissly. And I think that there's more releases to come. Like you guys have said in the chat, Nick Bellore, I don't think is safe. D. Eskridge, I don't think is safe. Brian Monet, I don't think is safe. Tyler Lockett could still potentially restructure his contract. There's still a bunch of avenues, still a bunch of different ways for Seattle to manufacture additional cap space for this year. Who knows? What if there's an offer that Seattle finds appealing and they end up trading to Geno Smith? I know there's going to be a lot of dead cap money on the books, but that's also still going to save a little bit of money at the same time. And so I think with all these moves, John Schneider has spoken, man, what is going on? Has spoken very loudly as it pertains to potentially bringing back Leonard Williams at the combine. And I forgot what a reporter had asked him, but they had asked him about the future of Leonard Williams and whether or not he was going to be returning to Seattle. And I think with the answer that he gave, I think all signs point to Leonard Williams coming back. Again, you save a bunch of cap space. You traded a second-round pick. He brought up the Jamal Adams trade, and because Jamal Adams performed well, they ended up giving a record-breaking contract extension. I do think that Leonard Williams is a lock to re-sign. You've kind of purged this team of its veterans as far as, you know, Quandre Diggs and Jamal Adams, and so I think Leonard Williams has to come back, and I think Leonard Williams is a lock to re-sign. Which of Seattle's in-house free agents should the team bring back? Some of them include Bobby Wagner, Damian Lewis, Kobe Parkinson, Drew Lock, Evan Brown, Darrell Taylor. Now, I'm not going to dive deep into all these names, but I will just give yes or no answers as it pertains to whether or not I believe they'll remain in Seattle. Starting with Bobby Wagner, I'm going to say yes. I know, and this is the only one I'm going to elaborate on. I know Christopher Kidd said that he doesn't believe that Bobby Wagner will re-sign. And with the youth movement, it appears that Seattle is going to be leaning towards come 2024 and beyond, particularly on defense. Maybe Bobby Wagner doesn't fit the timeline, but I just think that you still need a guy that's on the field that's going to be able to talk and to be an embodiment of Seahawks culture, right? And I think that with the Bobby Wagner, maybe he's not the best fit, right, in a Mike McDonald scheme defensively, but I think that as a run stopper, I mean, he's still highly, very, very effective and still one of the very best tacklers in all the National Football League. And so maybe Seattle and him come to terms on an agreement where he's not playing all three downs anymore, and maybe he's going to specialize and just play earlier downs, obvious running downs. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure, but I do think that Seattle does bring back a way or find a way to bring back a Bobby Wagner. Damian Lewis, I think, is gone. Kobe Parkinson, I think that with Will Dissly being released, no offense to free agent, Kobe Parkinson is a free agent. You can't have a bare cupboard right at tight end. I know there's guys in free agency and in the draft, but I think it would help to have a guy that he's not going to sign for too much, right? And so Kobe Parkinson, I do think he comes back. Drew Lock, I do think he comes back. Evan Brown, I don't think he comes back. And he's not super expensive, right? I've seen the calculated market value on Spotrac, and it's not like he's going to fetch a pretty penny. I just think that Olu Oluwatimi is the future at center, and I think Seattle should give him that opportunity to start at center come this upcoming season. And so Evan Brown was serviceable this past season, but I think he's out. And then outside linebacker Darrell Taylor, I think he resigns. Again, he's shown flashes as a pass rusher in Seattle in the years past. I know he does have some work to do as it pertains to stopping the run, but he's still young enough to where he could improve. And I do think that under the tutelage of a Mike McDonald, I think that it wouldn't hurt. I don't think that he's going to command a whole bunch of money. And so I think Darrell Taylor, I think he comes back. Moving along, under the radar and dark horse free agent options for the Seahawks. Before I move on and I drop some of my dark horse free agent options for the Seahawks, those of you guys in the chat, if you guys are still tuned in, drop your under the radar free agent wants, or even just position groups. Just drop which position groups or specific free agents that you would want the Seattle Seahawks to go after in free agency, and just of the dark horse variety, the under the radar variety, because I think we all know who the top guys are in free agency. And so, again, before I do get into mine, I want you guys to drop your options in the chat. And before I get to my answer, I'm going to address some of you guys here in the chat. Oh, shoot. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay, there's another super chat here. But before I jump and get on to that, Rhea in the chat is saying good night, have a blessed night, and stay safe. Rhea, I appreciate you for taking the time to tune in. I hope you have a blessed night yourself, and I appreciate you for taking the time to tune in. Again, this means a lot, and have a blessed night yourself. So thank you, Rhea. We got my brother Jay Smooth in the building, man. If you're still tuned in, my brother, I hope you're having a blessed night, bro. It's crazy. I was just with Leak and Joe earlier, and we about to get hoopy tomorrow. And so I can't wait to catch up with you, bro. I know it has been a while, but I hope you're doing smooth, bro. I hope the hoop season went well. I appreciate you for tuning in, brother. We definitely we gotta tap in soon. We gotta tap in soon. Speaking of, we got Malik Hall, man, my brother tuning in. Shout out Steezy A, hashtag MBK. Hey, you know it's MBK for life, man. I appreciate you for tuning in. It's crazy how you and Smooth tune in at the same time. So, I appreciate you for taking the time to tune in, my brother. It's been a great show. It's been a fun show, man. I wish I still had Christopher Kidd on, because now I feel like I've been hosting this show and I've been on the show just by myself for a while now. But Leak, man, I appreciate you for tuning in, brother. It's all love. We got Larry in the building saying, "What's up, bro? What's up, Larry? Thank you for tuning in, brother." We got Jake in the building. What's good, bro? How you doing, Jake? It's a long time no talk, man. Long time no talk. But, yo, we got another super chat in the building here. And then there's also another one. These are starting to come in like crazy, y'all. These is coming in like crazy. You guys are showing so much love tonight. Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate it for real. Alina, I asked him to get with NorbCam for a collab, and he said he wanted to. There were so many job openings available in Seattle. Maybe it just wasn't his fit. What experienced player do we need to keep in the locker room? Well, I kind of touched on this. I think Bobby Wagner. I mean, you get rid of a Quan J. Diggs, right? You get rid of a Will Dissly. Yeah, Geno Smith is a leader. DK Metcalf, he's talked about in the past how he wants to be a leader for the Seahawks team moving forward. Yeah, you have him. Defensively, everybody's young. Yeah, there's Jaron Reed, but I think it had to be Bobby Wagner. And again, maybe in pass coverage, he's no longer a plus on the football field, maybe more so a liability as it pertains to his ability and pass coverage. But Alina, to answer your question, I think Bobby Wagner, we had to keep him not only on the field on those run stopping downs, but we also got to keep him on the field, or not, excuse me, we got to keep him in the locker room as it pertains to his leadership and just his ability to be able to speak on Seahawks culture, right? Because John Schneider has talked about, and he's talked about this time and time again, we want to retain that Seahawks culture that's been prevalent here in Seattle, that's made a name for itself, right? Which is why a lot of free agents, which is why a lot of guys via trade are happy when they land in Seattle. And so, yeah, I think Bobby Wagner, we had to find a way. The Seattle Seahawks had to find a way to be able to keep him in Seattle. Alina, again, thank you for that super chat. That really means a lot. Concierge with Nolan with the $5 super chat. Man, you guys are showing lots and lots of love tonight, man. It's really, man, again, this really warms up my heart. I can't even get to the topics on the that I had planned for the show just because y'all keep dropping these super chats. And so, my heart is just full of gratitude, really. But Nolan is saying John is sending the "you up" text to Williams, and he said yes. If Williams is willing, it's a lock. Love Bobby, but John let him walk last time. Oh, wow. And obviously, look, we're all going to have different opinions. I know a lot of people think that Bobby Wagner is on the decline. And yes, we've talked about this before. He's not necessarily the best fit in Mike Macdonald's scheme defensively, especially given his advanced age and his liabilities in coverage, deficiencies in coverage. But yeah, man, I don't know. I don't know. Williams, yes, like you said, I think he's more than willing for sure. He's definitely more than willing. And Bobby, we're gonna agree to disagree here, but I'm in favor of keeping Bobby around as long as, again, Mike Macdonald and the coaching staff is able to work out scenarios in where he doesn't necessarily have to be on the field on passing downs. I always be watching you, brother. It's good to see you doing good, Bobo. Man, Jake, that means a lot, bro. I appreciate that, really. For real. I hope you're doing well, too. I hope you're doing well, and I hope you're having a great night. Richard Chan in the building saying Bobby needs to retire a Hawk. Right. And same with Tyler Lockett, right? Some of these guys, it wouldn't look good. It wouldn't feel right, right? I mean, Bobby, had an all-pro year with the Rams a couple of years ago, but it just never felt right. And so, yeah, he definitely needs to retire a Seahawk. I agree. And Alina Dahl, she's echoing the same sentiments. Yes, Bobby needs to retire a Hawk. And who knows? Maybe if Seattle and him can't come to terms on a contract, what if he just retires outright? I would not rule that out. It's not to say that he has nothing left in the tank, but I think that's a possibility. I think it's a possibility for sure. But going back to this, though, under the radar, dark horse free agent options for the Seattle Seahawks come this offseason. And again, the new league year starts next week. I got a list for you guys. I got 2 guards from the Baltimore Ravens, and I guess I didn't include his name here, but John Simpson, who came out of nowhere last year and is an absolute mauler in the run game. I think that he definitely, and while Mike Macdonald didn't directly coach him, he obviously is coming over from the Baltimore Ravens. And I don't just see Mike Macdonald bringing on defensive guys. He's also going to want to bring on other Baltimore Ravens just because he spent so much time around these guys. But John Simpson, right? Is it Ben Powers? It's not Ben Powers. I'm blanking right now. What's his name? Hold on, y'all. Give me just a second, man. Give me just. Yeah, I was thinking of the wrong name. Kevin Zeitler, guard. He's a little on the older side, and so maybe he's not necessarily a fit when we're looking at the timeline in Seattle. But Kevin Zeitler, guard for the Ravens. John Simpson, guard for the Ravens. Coming over from the division rival, hypothetically speaking, of course, Kevin Dotson from the Rams. Linebacker, which is going to be a huge need for the Seattle Seahawks. Linebacker Blake Cashman of the Houston Texans. Linebacker Josie Jewell from the Denver Broncos. Guard John Runyon from the Green Bay Packers. And man, I'd be happy with this one. He's a veteran, but he's also played for the Kansas City Chiefs, and so obviously he has a lot of playoff success, a lot of championship success on his resume. Drew Tranquil from the Kansas City Chiefs. I think these are all viable, under the radar, dark horse type of free agent options for the Seattle Seahawks. I know these aren't household names, but again, hence the dark horse, right, in free agency. Let me go back to some of y'all here in the chat though. Look what emotion Jason Kelce, he retired. Yeah, I mean, like I talked about at the top of the show, Jason Kelce, he will be remembered as one of the greats, one of the best centers of all time. I truly wish him the best. And I think it's actually kind of cool that his Eagles never beat the Seahawks while he was a starting center. Definitely a crazy fun fact there. Concierge with Nolan with another super chat. This has got to be a record in my live streaming career as it pertains to the amount of super chats that I've gotten from a single person. And so Concierge with Nolan, man, thank you. Thank you again from the bottom of my heart. Love Bobby. I just think John lets him walk again. And look, I wouldn't be mad at it. I totally understand it. It's just me personally. I just think they find a way to bring him back. But again, if it doesn't happen, I totally understand why. We got Why You Mad Bro in the building. Yo. Why You Mad Bro? I appreciate you for tuning in. Thank you so much. For those guys that are still tuned in, I probably plan on being live for just another 10 minutes at max. I didn't think that so many of y'all would be tuning in this far late into the show. I wish, majority of y'all would have been here while I did have my guest on. But, I wanted to respect his time, and I couldn't have him on for too long. But we'll definitely be working together in the near future. Again, he is one of the co-hosts of the Seahawks Man2Man podcast on YouTube, and he's also the producer of Puck and Jim on 93.3 KJR. You can catch them Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. We got Seahawks Martin in the building. What's good, Steezy? What's good, Martin? That reminds me, Martin, I need to get you on the show sometime soon. I definitely want to bring back just a variation of those roundtables that we used to have on NorbCam's channel every Wednesday. For all the OG fans and supporters, you guys remember that, right? When we used to have those weekly roundtable shows on NorbCam's channel. Tyler is agreeing with me. Me too. I will bring you on, Tyler. I promise I got you. But going back to what I was saying with Seahawks Martin, it's been far too long since I've had you on the show. So, yeah, he's already saying bet. Yeah, it's a bet. Alina Daw, I don't think John will let Bobby walk again because he doesn't want to have the wrath of the Hawks fan. Hey, y'all. All right, Alina, I think you make a great point. I mean, they obviously, I think the Seattle Seahawks do a pretty good job of not necessarily catering to everything that Seahawks fans want, but I think they listen. I think they hear the rumblings on social media. I think that, that the 12th man really does have a voice. And so, Alina, you bring up a great point. Before I do wrap up the show, though, you guys, there's just a couple of other free agent stuff that I want to cover. And I think what I want to do is I'm going to bring up a player, and I'm going to have you guys in the chat say yes or no in regards to whether or not the Seahawks should sign that player in free agency. But I have accumulated, and I've racked up some of the market values here, and these are all courtesy of Spotrac. And so all these numbers, all these contract numbers that you're about to see, courtesy of Spotrac. Again, all I want you to do is say yes or no in the chat, whether or not they're coming back. And so let's start with, who do we want to start with? Noah Fant. And according to Spotrac, he has a projected annual average market value of $6.2 million, and they're projecting that he signs a contract worth 2 years and $12.6 million in free agency. I think that'd be an absolute steal. And so while I'm waiting for you guys to drop your answers in the chat, to me, it's a bona fide yes. And I think with Seattle releasing Will Dissly earlier today, Colby Parkinson is a free agent that I do think Seattle brings back on a value contract type of situation. But I think Noah Fant, if this is indeed the market for him, then Seattle would be smart to bring him back. I think he's damn near locked at this point to return. Tyler is saying Norb is going to his first Kraken game. I wish I would be able to join him. Man, I haven't been to a Kraken game yet, but I definitely love to make it out soon. Alina Doll with another super chat. Man, I think Alina Doll, Nolan here, I don't know. You guys are rivals tonight because you guys are going back and forth with the super chat. But Alina, thank you so much. This truly means a lot to me. But Alina saying, look at the length of time Steve Largent was with the Hawks before he retired, from 1976 to 1989 with bare hands. I love watching the tape. And for those of you guys that have played football with me, I also like to play with no gloves. And I'm not trying to compare myself to Steve Largent, but I just think that it's funny that you bring that up, the bare hands part, and Christopher Kidd, blame this on him. He brought up flag football, or maybe I did, my bad. But we talked about flag football briefly. And so, yeah, for me, it's not that I don't like playing with gloves, but I just don't play with gloves. That's kind of what it has been. But Alina Doll, thank you again. Let me just stop saying your last name because I think we know each other now. And so I think it's good just to call you Alina. Are you cool with that? I'm going to just call you Alina. But Alina, thank you so much. Oh, okay. Why you mad, bro? Thinks that Noah Fant shouldn't come back. Okay. Alina saying yes. So we got how many yeses? Okay, we got 3 yeses actually right here. Nolan is saying I'd be a yes on Fant. So we got 3 yeses for Noah Fant, and we have a no for Noah Fant. But I think that a majority of Seahawks fans would like to see Noah Fant come back, just because I feel like he still has a lot of untapped potential, and Seattle just hasn't utilized them, I think, in a way that optimizes what he brings to the table. So we got 3 yeses for Noah Fant and 1 no. We got East Coast Gridiron in the building. Yo, what's up, man? I hope you're having a great and blessed night. Thank you for taking the time to tune in. And just on time, he said, yes, he has a lot of potential. Right, I totally agree. I think Seattle has definitely underutilized him. He's improved as a blocker here in Seattle. Throughout all this time that he has spent in Seattle, these last couple of seasons, he has improved as a blocker. And so I think there's a lot more ways to utilize him as a pass catcher. And Ryan Grubb, it's up to you and the rest of that coaching staff on offense, Mike McDonald as well, to figure out how to best utilize Noah Fant and his talents at the tight end position. Why you mad, bro, is saying I'd rather draft a tight end. Well, I think that you could re-sign Noah Fant, you could re-sign Colby, and you could draft one. I think that, and it doesn't have to be in a perfect world. I think it's very feasible. I think it's likely. I think it's realistic that Noah Fant comes back, Colby Parkinson comes back, and then Seattle drafts a tight end or 2, and then maybe you bring in a veteran in free agency. I still think that, yeah, again, there's going to be a lot of revamping in the tight end room, but 1 or 2 of these guys got to come back, right? Nolan is saying going to need both. Yeah, going to need to draft 1 or 2 as well. Right. And so even if Seattle, again, why you mad, bro? Even if Seattle were to lean towards the draft as far as bringing in a replacement at tight end for Will Dissly, it's not like the tight end room will be complete with the drafting of a tight end, right? There's still additional moves that have to be made there. And so, but I see what you're saying. So Richard is saying yes. Okay, so we have 4 yeses for Noah Fant and 1 no. Noah Fant college is Iowa, and then 2019 to 2021 was at Denver. Right. He's just an athletic specimen at the position. And so, yeah, definitely, I hope it happens in Seattle. Culp in the 7th or undrafted free agency. Okay, I think that's very intriguing. Why you mad, bro? I like Jaheim Bell if we could draft him in the 5th round. Definitely a name to look out for. I appreciate that. We got Malik Hall asking, what does this new cap space do for the Seahawks? Are they fishing for big free agents? So when I had Christopher Kidd on the show earlier today, we talked about this. And he actually, it's, I guess, not the best of answers. And Kidd, if you're still listening, that's not a knock on you. But he said that he doesn't know because we don't know what direction the Seattle Seahawks are willing to go in. But, Leak, to answer your question, I do think that what Seattle wants to do is they want to sign some guys from Baltimore, right? Some of these guys that Mike McDonald coached up, some of these guys that even if he didn't coach on that side of the ball, that the Ravens in general coached up. And so this cap space right now, if I had to answer this question, I think it means that Seattle has free agents on their own front that they want to bring back. And I think that there are free agents in Baltimore that they want to sign. Obviously, you still have to sign the draft class. You still have to save some money for your practice squad. You still have to save some money for the middle of the season, just in case guys are cut or you acquire guys at the trade deadline. But I think right now, I don't think Seattle is necessarily fishing for big free agents, but they are fishing to bring back their own free agents, and they're also fishing for some of those free agents over there in Baltimore. Oh, we got something spicy here. East Coast Gridiron is saying Jaheim Bell is lazy. Oh, wow. Okay. As an FSU fan, he's a firecracker when he wants to be. Jaheim just doesn't know who he wants to be. Slim down and become a receiver. Oh, wow. Talk about a hot take. Wow. But this is another yes for Noah Fant. I'd say yes. Fant came through a few times last season. Should get more opportunity this year, in my opinion. Right. And that game against the Dallas Cowboys comes to mind. I know there are other games out there. I can't. They're not. The light bulb isn't on right now. They're not coming to mind. But yeah, he definitely had some opportunities in some games last year in which I was like, yo, if we utilize him more, if the Seattle Seahawks utilize him more, he could do a lot of damage. But yeah, I think that's 4 or 5 yeses right now for Noah Fant. So I will move on to the next player. They just cleaned up some cap space, opened up $24 million cap room with 3 releases. So actually, it's $24.5 million. Or no, actually, no, it's $27.5 million with the release of Will Dissly, Jamal Adams, and Quandre Diggs. And let me bring this up again, just because we do have a lot of you guys asking or inquiring. According to Over the Cap, the Seahawks now rank 16th in the NFL in salary cap space with $36.2 million. Now, if you're like me and you like to use Spotrac, there's a bit of a discrepancy as far as the salary cap number. And Spotrac is saying that the Seahawks have approximately $38.8 million in cap space. But I think what's most important to kind of take away here as it pertains to Seattle and the salary cap, the Seahawks have more than $35 million in salary cap space. And a lot of that is going to be allocated towards bringing back a Jordan Brooks, bringing back a Leonard Williams, signing some of those guys in Baltimore. And so I just don't think Seattle is going to have enough. Again, I did bring this up earlier, actually. You can still restructure Lockett. You can still release Ballore. You can still release Eskridge. You can still release Brian Monet. There are other avenues to create cap space, but I think in the coming days, we're definitely going to see what the Seahawks are going to do on that front. But just a reminder, the Seahawks are also on the hook as far as dead money, having racked up $34.4 million in dead cap after the release of Adams and Diggs. And when I looked at Seattle's dead cap situation prior to the release of both of those safeties, it was pretty clean. And so a lot of Seattle's dead money this year and next is really coming from Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs. Who knows? Again, there could be other cuts, and so that number could go higher. And once the Denver Broncos and the Russell Wilson situation, once that is official come the new league year, I think the Denver Broncos might be leaders. But last time I checked, the Seattle Seahawks right now lead the NFL in dead money at $34.4 million. And so I don't know what that means as far as what Seattle's going to do in free agency and how they're going to handle these finances or around the salary cap. But I think this is definitely important to know. The Seattle Seahawks are currently leading the league in dead cap money at $34.4 million, while at the same time, simultaneously, they rank 16th, so middle of the pack in the NFL as far as salary cap space with $36.2 million. I'm going to talk about Jordan Brooks now. And I know I touched on him earlier with Christopher Kidd, the guest that I had on. And this is according to Spotrac. So I'm looking at his projected average annual value, and that's $11.3 million. And Spotrac is also projecting that Jordan Brooks will sign a contract of 4 years and $45.4 million. Look, this is one of the reasons why I don't think that Patrick Queen would be a good signing at market value. Again, there's a qualifier there, and I'm prefacing it by saying at market value. I'm not saying that it's inherently bad for Patrick Queen to be in Seattle, but at over $18 million a year, no, thank you. At a non-premium position, at a position that Seattle could target in free agency, I listed it out. Bargains that you could find at linebacker in free agency. There's also the draft. And so bringing on a Patrick Queen who's going to cost almost $20 million a year, no, thank you. I don't think that he's worth that given the current salary cap situation in Seattle. But going back to Jordan Brooks, he's a little older than a Patrick Queen. He's 26 years old. But again, he's going to come cheaper. I think that his best years are ahead of him. He's shown signs of improvement in coverage. And I think that under Mike Macdonald in this exotic of a defensive scheme, again, the best is yet to come. And so he's going to come cheaper. He already has experience being with the Seattle Seahawks and being around this front office and some of these guys on defense. I think that Jordan Brooks, you got to bring him back. You look to free agency and you bring it on a veteran, right? And then you also look to the draft and then draft a couple of linebackers. And so I think that's what Seattle does at linebacker. All this Patrick Queen talk, yeah, I'm not. And let me go over to his calculated market value. And again, $18.5 million. This is almost $20 million a year. Spotrac is projecting Patrick Queen to sign a contract for 5 years, a $92.6 million. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. Again, the best is also yet to come for Patrick Queen, but almost $100 million, almost $20 million a year. And his best year coincidentally came when Roquan Smith was traded, when Mike McDonald started working his magic. Nah, man, I don't know about that. I'd have to pass. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I know a lot of people on Instagram, I know a lot of people are on Twitter are in favor of signing Patrick Queen. And they don't even care at what number. But to me, I care. And to me, I just don't think that's conducive. And I don't think that that's the most efficient way to allocate your resources, given that it's still somewhat limited. And I'm talking about the salary cap space for the Seattle Seahawks. And so Patrick Queen, no, thank you. But Jordan Brooks, that's a yes for me. That's a yes for me. Oh, man, we got my big bro in the building. Flowers to a king. Flowers to a king. It's been so long since we talked, big bro. It's been so long since we chopped it up. I hope all's been well with you, brother. I hope that life has been treating you well. I hope the kids have been well. I hope that life has been well. Let's talk soon. Let's catch up soon because I'm trying to do more interviews. On beat, I'm trying to get back on. 32-bit, what's up, man? What's up? So, big bro, again, thank you. And man, I hope you have a blessed rest of your night, brother. Definitely, let's talk soon, for real. Why you mad, bro? Hopefully we cut D. Eskridge, Belore, Brian Monet, right? I did touch on that earlier. I think that there are more moves, to come, and those are additional ways, additional avenues for Seattle to create even more cap space. So who knows what happens there? But I definitely wouldn't be surprised if within the next week or if in the next couple of days, as a matter of fact, these guys are no longer on the Seahawks. We'll see what happens there. Actually, dead cap will be Denver due to the Russell Wilson situation. Right. But like I said, though, Alina, it's not yet official because Russell Wilson isn't going to be released until the new league year actually starts next Wednesday. And so right now, and I know it's the Seattle Seahawks are going to, hold this title briefly, but yeah, Seattle leads the league right now in dead money at $34.4 million. They now have $36.22 million in cap space to 2024, which ranks 16th in the NFL. Right. And I appreciate you for bringing that up and for reminding us. Alina, Nolan is saying they just cleaned up some cap space. That money is going to evaporate quickly. Yes, this is the NFL. That money is not going to last long. It's not. I think Queen will get around 16 to 17 million a year. To me, that's still too much bang. I mean, too much. I was going to say bang for my buck. That's still too much for me. I think that if Seattle is able to get him at 15 million or less, which I doubt is going to happen, then yes, you explore the possibility of bringing him on board. But if it's over 16, 17 million, nah. And no one agrees with me. Can't afford Queen. No, thanks. Alina also agrees with me. No, not worth it. And then they also agree with me. Alina saying yes for Brooks. Queen, no. I agree. Just a couple more guys here I do want to touch on. I know Christopher Kidd talked about Jadeveon Clowney, and he thinks that he would be a candidate to return to Seattle. And while it would be under a different regime, he did play under Mike McDonald last year, and he tied a career high in sacks with 9.5. And so I think that with the Jadeveon Clowney, I know that a lot of Seattle Seahawks fans are in favor of the Seahawks addressing the front seven, the defensive line, edge rusher, in the draft, but why not bring back a Jadeveon Clowney? It's not going to take a whole lot of money, obviously, relatively speaking, right? I don't think that Seattle is going to have to commit a whole bunch of years. I think that Jadeveon Clowney can be had for a year, and this is under market value. I mean, $7.2 million. Yes, Uchenna Nwosu is going to be coming back. Yes, Boye Mafe is only going to get better. Yes, Derek Hall should be better in year 2. Yes, I believe Darrell Taylor should be re-signed because he has shown flashes as a pass rusher. But why not bring back a Jadeveon Clowney? Not only is he going to reunite with the Mike McDonald, he's familiar with him. He's familiar with the Seahawks. He's also still an elite run defender. And as long as you're not asking him to be your first or your second best pass rusher, I think that he can be a team's third or fourth, perhaps even a fifth best pass rusher on a contending team. And so I think with the Jadeveon Clowney, some of these other Baltimore free agents are going to be too expensive. And I'm looking at Patrick Queen. I'm looking at, I think it might just be Patrick Queen because Justin Madubuike got franchise tagged. But with the Jadeveon Clowney, I mean, let me know what you guys think in the comments, but am I tripping? I would like to see him back in Seattle. You can never have enough edge rushers. Again, he's a veteran. He's a guy that's going to be able to help the rest of the guys learn that scheme. As Kyle Hamilton said at the Pro Bowl when he was being interviewed, that scheme is complex. Mike McDonald's defensive scheme is complex. And so by bringing on a Jadeveon Clowney, he's only going to help the guys around him. And it's not like he's going to have to play over 50% of the snaps. Again, as a pass rusher, it's going to be situational. He's not going to play all 3 downs, right? But as a run stopper, as a run stuffer, he's still one of the very best in the league. And Seattle has struggled immensely to stop the run. And so by bringing on a Jadeveon Clowney, I think it's just a win-win-win all the way around. Before I move on to the next guy, let me know what you guys think in the comments. For real, let me know what you think of a Jadeveon Clowney, returning to Seattle, especially at this number. Look, a lot of my decisions are going to be based off of whether or not it fits in Seattle financially. And so I think 7.2 million, I think, man, that'd be a steal. That'd be a bargain. Veteran reduction rate for Clowney. Right, yeah. And the number was just up on the screen. Let me bring it up real quick. Spotrac is projecting a 1-year contract for 7.2 million. So I think that's very much, especially with the rise in the salary cap, I think this is very much, it's not a veteran minimum deal, but definitely a veteran reduced type of deal for Jadeveon Clowney. Transition him into an assistant. Are we talking about Bobby Wagner? Alina, clarify for me real quick because I'm not exactly sure, but Concierge with Nolan, another super chat here. Wow. I see, and this is why we're still live, because so many of you guys are tuned in, but you guys still have so many questions, and so I'd hate to just leave y'all hanging. It says here 73 are still tuned in, so to everybody out there, man, thank you so much, man. It really, truly means the world to me to support the super chats. Just you guys taking the time to even drop questions. Just for you guys taking the time to tune in. If you've been subscribed to the channel, if you've been following me on Instagram and Twitter, from the bottom of my heart, truly, thank you. Thank you. I'd be good with Clowney. We saw what happened losing Chenna, right? Hopefully Hall can take a step forward, stack that D-line. Right. And again, as the saying goes, you can never have enough pass rushers. Depth is valuable, and defensive line, the front 7 pass rushers, those are the position groups in which you'd want to have the most amount of depth alongside offensive line. But when I'm looking at the front 7, when I'm looking at edge rushers, when I'm looking at the defensive line, you got to have plenty of depth. I mean, when you have a rotation, when you're able to keep these guys fresh, it helps everybody, honestly. And so, Nolan, you bring up a good point. Right. We saw what happened last year. Seattle brought back Frank Clark. That didn't necessarily work out. Derek Hall showed why he was a rookie. And so in the event of inconsistencies at linebacker or in the pass rushing department, as it pertains to the guys, at the edge rushing positions, then yeah, I think that you can never have enough depth there. So Jadeveon Clowney, I'm all for it. I think a lot of you guys are in favor of that. Transition Clowney into an assistant once he is towards retirement if he is interested. Oh, wow. This is actually a great point. I'm not sure I see assistant coach in a Jadeveon Clowney, but if he is to have another resurgent year in Seattle under Mike McDonald's tutelage, I mean, who knows? Maybe he'd want to repay the favor by being a coach once he does decide to call it quits. But there's still so much left. I think that he still has another good 3 to 4, maybe 5 years in the National Football League before he even thinks about retiring. But I think that if he were to be successful under Mike McDonald again, then yeah, I think it's definitely something to ponder. All right, you guys, I know this might sound a little redundant because Christopher Kidd and I did break this down, but I didn't really get to include my thoughts and I didn't get to get your guys' thoughts. But Geno Stone, and this is again according to Spotrac, he has a calculated market value of just $7.2 million. And Spotrac is projecting that he signs a contract of 3 years, $21.6 million. If I remember this correctly, he had 6 INTs or 7 INTs for the Baltimore Ravens last year. And I think that with Seattle releasing Quandre Diggs, yes, Julian Love is still there. Yes, Kobe Bryant and Jarek Reed, Jonathan Sutherland are in-house replacements for Quandre Diggs. But when we're talking a value signing, I think Geno Stone fits the bill. Yes, again, he's coming off a 6-7 INT season from last year, but he only still has one proven season in the National Football League. And so I don't think that teams are going to be in a hurry to just throw a whole bunch of money and a whole bunch of years at Geno Stone. I think that he can be had similar to a contract or similar to the contract that Julian Love did sign with the Seahawks last year, 2 years and $12 million. Now, I do think that that number is slightly going to be higher this year just because of the increased salary cap, but 3 years and $21.6 million, hypothetically speaking, for Geno Stone, who again is going to bring that familiarity under Mike McDonald. He is going to fill a need at safety. He's not going to be very expensive. It would eliminate the need to draft one, at least in the early rounds. Heck yeah, I'm all for Geno Stone coming to Seattle as a free agent. Again, there's that connection with Baltimore. There's that need. He's not going to be expensive. I think, again, this is a win-win-win-win-win. Bring on Geno Stone. I was going to say Geno Smith. He's already in Seattle. But bring on Geno Stone. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Why you mad, bros, agreeing? Yes. Either him or Bobby to assist with the young people to deal with the issues of immaturity that had happened at the end of the season. I wouldn't be mad at that. But again, I think Jadeveon Clowney just isn't at that stage in his career. But Bobby, no doubt about that. It doesn't have to be as a coach just yet. I still think that he can contribute on the field. You're just going to have to get him away from those passing downs. But let me know what you guys think here in the chat. Is it a yes for Geno Stone or is it a no? Let me know. While I'm waiting for that, I will move on to the next guy. Actually, I won't be doing that. I won't be doing that. Again, but just to remind you guys, though, according to Over the Cap, the Seahawks now rank 16th in the NFL in salary cap space with $36.2 million. And the Seahawks are also on the hook as far as dead money, having racked up $34.4 million just today in dead cap after the release of Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs. Okay, before we touch on that, Nolan is saying every team got that bump in cap space. If the Seahawks aren't outbid, yes on Stone. Okay, so that's 2 yeses. Alina is saying is another Iowa college guy. I say yes. Okay, so that's 3 yeses right now for a Geno Stone. And again, it just makes too much sense for it not to happen. Maybe he's enamored with another team. So yes, I do envision a scenario in which he doesn't end up in Seattle. But I think right now, if I had to put money on it, I'd say Geno Stone is a Seattle Seahawk. Geno Stone, you are a Seattle Seahawk. Actually, I have a question for you guys, though. I know I asked Kid this. But will the Seahawks be active in free agency with all this newfound cap space? Or if I got to rephrase it better for you guys in the chat, would you like Seattle to be active with all this newfound cap space? Or would you rather Seattle bring back every in-house free agent that needs to be brought back and you sign a couple of value guys in free agency? Let me know what the temperature is. Let me know what you guys are thinking there. Alina at all, 2 Genos on the same team. Right. And it's funny because if you guys remember when the Seahawks played the Ravens in Baltimore when Seattle got blown out, Geno Smith threw an INT to Geno Stone. And so there was some Geno on Geno crime there. I think that can be rectified if Geno and Geno are fighting against crime for the same team with the Seattle Seahawks. I think that'd be a great way for Geno Stone to kind of redeem himself. Obviously, I'm joking, but yeah, 2 Genos on the same team. I think that'd be dope. That'd be lovely. That'd be lovely. Shoot, I'm out of guys though. I thought I had another guy that I wanted to talk about. Maybe I put up Leonard Williams' calculated market value I think 16.7 million is selling Leonard Williams a little short. And this number did come out prior to the salary cap explosion. And so if this number were a little inflated, maybe we're talking 18 something million dollars a year. But Spotrac is projecting that Leonard Williams signs a contract of 3 years, 50.1 million, which looks very reminiscent of the contract that Seattle handed out in free agency last year to Draymond Jones. And so again, I think that Spotrac is selling Leonard Williams short here, but I do think that Seattle gets it done. Again, you gave up a second-round pick. You gave up a lot to get him. You've saved a lot of salary cap money. And he had a great end to the season last year for the Seahawks. He's one of the very few players in NFL history that have ever played 18 games in a season. Leonard Williams, yeah, he's coming back. No doubt about that. No doubt about that. Alina is saying, look how active Pete was when he first got here. Did pretty good in the first couple of years. Right. And we've talked about this on prior shows, but if you guys remember, Pete Carroll was coming straight from college when the Seattle Seahawks hired him. Obviously, he was coming over from USC. He had so much success there, but I also think that that's one of the reasons why the Seattle Seahawks should have a lot of success in this year's NFL draft. You have Mike Macdonald, who I know it was a couple of years ago, but was a defensive coordinator at Michigan in 2021. There are other guys on the staff. Ryan Grubb, right, obviously has spent the last 2 years at UW. Scott Huff, offensive line coach, spent the last more than 2 years at UW, because so many of these coaches on the Seahawks staff have either spent time with college players in the last couple of years, or they've had ties somehow, some way these last couple of years. Seattle has a lot of intel that not a lot of other teams have. Maybe the Chargers with the Jim Harbaugh and his coaching staff. But aside from these two teams, the Chargers and the Seahawks, I think that the Seahawks have a very unique advantage with the sort of guys that they have on the coaching staff, the sort of intel that they've been able to gather, that they have gathered already. And so, yeah, there's definitely a lot more activity to come. Only I appreciate the comment. We got another super chat here from Nolan, and wow, I'm absolutely ecstatic. I'm just so grateful. I mean, you guys are, man, thank you. This means a lot. But Nolan is saying we got that no state tax auto pay raise over other teams. It means a bunch to keep a bunch of that contract in your pocket. Yeah, I mean, shoot, you bring up a great point. I mean, maybe that's one of the reasons why Julian Love signed with Seattle on such a cheap contract. I mean, relative to other safeties right across the National Football League, 2 years, $12 million, $6 million a year. Yeah, that I think that definitely having that no state tax here in Washington, that definitely helps. Going back to the question that I did pose earlier, though, why you mad, bro, saying I'm 50-50 on him with that much money. Okay. And how much would we have if we cut Brian Monet, Ballore, de-escalation, and restructure DK, Lockett? I don't think Seattle restructures DK. Lockett, I think Seattle could save, what is it, $6 to $7 million. And don't quote me on this, but I think Seattle could save $6 to $7 million. It's somewhere in that ballpark with the Tyler Lockett restructure. Again, don't quote me on that. D. Eskridge, the Seahawks would save just under $2 million. Nick Ballore, the Seahawks would save just under $5 million. And then if Seattle were to cut Brian Monet, Seattle would save just under $5 million as well. And so that's an additional 10, 11, 12 plus $1 million that the Seahawks do have to work with if they were to cut Monet, Ballore, Eskridge, and then restructure Lockett. I don't think DK is restructured. Jason Myers, now that's very interesting. I do think that maybe he gets extended as opposed to being restructured outright. But again, like we've talked about all show, there's still so many different avenues for Seattle to create additional cap space. Okay, $3 million. Quarterback Geno did do a lot to restructure his contract to stay. Well, just to clarify that, it was actually up to John Schneider because there was a clause in his contract that he was able to exercise, and it was up to the front office. And so I guess everybody wins. I mean, Geno's getting his money up front. And while Seattle does have to bite the bullet somewhat and to an extent down the line and on the back end, Seattle saves salary cap money this year. And again, if a team were to trade for him, it helps that opposing team because his number is so low. But as far as dead money, it kind of hurts Seattle. But yeah, I mean, to your point, though, Alina, Geno did do, I guess, Seattle a service, even if it was John Snyder's decision. But yeah, restructuring the contract, I mean, hey, they want to win here. They want to win here. Ladies and gentlemen, though, wow, we've been live for over 2 hours, and I told you guys that I was planning on being live for just an hour. And so I always do this. And for that, I don't even know if I need to say sorry respectfully, just because I think you guys are having a blast. I think you guys are having a great time. I mean, look at this. There's still over 70 people tuned in live, and I'm just about to wrap up the show. Usually that number starts to fall dramatically. And so, man, to everybody, for all the super chats, man, this is wow. Nolan, Richard, Alina, Nolan, Alina, Nolan. My gosh, this is just unbelievable, y'all. The amount of super chats, the amount of support, the amount of you guys tuned in still. This, man, once I get off screen, I might have to shed a tear of joy or two, but I can't show you guys that on screen. Man, I've had an absolute blast, though, to everybody, really, truly. Even if you didn't drop a super chat, I mean, y'all know I love you. Team Steezy family, y'all know I love you. And for helping me get to 4K on YouTube, hey, man, we shooting for 10K next. So, hey, baby, we coming for it. Alina saying having too much fun. And then Mile T06 in the chat is saying Nate GFA. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but Nate, thank you for tuning in. And real quick, you guys, let me take a deep breath real quick. Hold on. All right, y'all. Got a much needed breath there. Much needed. Okay, hold on. So this is what they're saying. Seahawks could sign PQ6. Oh, Patrick Queen. I was confused for a second. Oh yeah, Patrick Queen. We talked about this earlier. I don't think it's likely, especially if it's just under $20 million a year. But definitely, I know a lot of Seahawks fans are in favor of signing Patrick Queen. So we'll see what happens there. But ladies and gentlemen, again, I've had such a blast. I do have to wrap up the show right here and right now. Again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you to everyone that's taking the time to tune in tonight. Thank you for taking the time to tune in when you see this. Thank you for all the super chats. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the shares. Thank you for the subscriptions. Thank you guys, truly, for everything. Really. My heart is just so full of gratitude right now. And before I wrap up the show, they're saying over here, Seahawks are signing Xavier McKinney. I don't know if the money that he would warrant is conducive again, because Seattle, I just don't know if Seattle wants to spend that much money on safeties in free agency, but it's definitely an option. Richard is saying good night, Stevie. Alina said next time you will be interviewing KJ in San Fran. I mean, as you guys know, especially for my most loyal of listeners, followers, subscribers, fans, I go to San Fran once or twice every year. I do got family over there, family that I love. And so I do hope to catch KJ right there in San Francisco. KJ, right, if you're watching or if you will be watching, we got to talk. We got to chop it up for sure. But again, before Nolan is saying respect. Hey, lots of respect, for real. Nolan, shout out to you, man. You're the MVP. You and Alina, I'm going to have to give y'all co-MVP honors, for real. For all the super chats, for all the support, for all the comments, for all the laughs, and for all the knowledge that you guys continue to put out in the chat and just in life. I know you guys are great, wonderful people. And so you guys are the MVPs of tonight's show. I mean, wow, I'm my heart right now is so full of gratitude. I keep repeating myself. But yeah, please follow me on Instagram if you are here in the Seattle area. If you guys want to help me pass out some of these business cards, I know I talked about this on the last show, but I got so many of these, y'all. I got 1,000 of these. That number has probably gone down now in the last few weeks. I've been handing these out, but I got a whole bunch of these business cards. And so if any of you guys want to help me out with passing these out, or if you guys just want one, just to have one, and if you guys have a lot of Seahawk fans in your life, yo, take a stack off of me. Help me pass these out. Again, if you are here in the Seattle area, King County, Kent, Renton, Fairwood, Federal Way, Des Moines, wherever it may be, let's link up, man. I'd love to give you a stack of some of these business cards, and I could use some help in passing this out. So, yeah, y'all, man, love Mike McDonald. Good show. Thank you, Alina with the hearts. Nothing but love. Yeah, I've had so much fun. You guys. I do hate to cut this short, but as always, all glory to God, to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I appreciate you for blessing me, for being in my presence throughout the course of tonight's show, for everyone's generosity. Lord, the glories are yours. And man, I know there's so much more to come. And so to all you guys out there, I hope you guys have a blessed night. 420 cent in Tacoma, or I'd be down. And it's all good. I'll be in Tacoma too. So I'm going to just have to catch you one of these days. 420, God. I appreciate you, though. I appreciate you. Again, though, as always, AGTG, all glory to God. Nothing but love from me over here. I can't even talk no more. Nothing but love. Nothing but love, truly. Andrew E is saying, bye, good sir. Hey, I hope you have a great night, for real. Bye. I hope you have a great night, for real. Again, for the third time, let me just say this one more time. Nothing but love. All glory to God. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, @SteezyASmithTV. We just hit 4K, not just on YouTube, but also on Instagram. Again, if you guys are looking for more content, Seahawks-related content from yours truly, @SteezyASmith. I am on Instagram every single day. Twitter, I'm on there a few times a week. But if you're looking for more of your Seahawks daily dose, Instagram, Twitter, @SteezyASmith. Instagram is SteezyASmithTV. Twitter, @SteezyASmith. And if you aren't already subscribed on YouTube, I don't know what you're doing. Maybe you were just waiting for me to hit 4K, but don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Nothing but love, y'all. And Steezy is out. Again, this video is going to be dedicated to Mr. Todd Nas. While that concludes this video, we have loads of other content. You don't have to stop watching there. Other content on our channel homepage, as well as our social media platforms. And again, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for us. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Nothing but love, and Steezy out.